Chapter 288. When the master and the others came out of the palace, they all had worried expressions on their faces. The reason they were invited was that the students were too outstanding, so Emperor Shui wanted to reward them and give them the title of Honorary Academy. On the surface, this matter seemed good, but in fact, they all knew why Shui had summoned them. It was because of the battle in Heaven-Do City, especially the battle between titled Douluo. It was really unsettling. Because of this, the Snowy Night Emperor looked for them to inquire about Thanos' overlord. Now, Shui wanted to reward Lin Feng and give him the title of Earl. Obviously, he wanted to rope him in. This matter was not easy to deal with. It was wrong to accept it, but it was also wrong not to accept it. It was better to tell Lin Feng about this matter first and see what he planned. Shui said that it was best to give a definite answer today, at the latest tomorrow. It seemed that the other party was very anxious. The master and the others were worried because they were afraid that Shui would do something. After returning to the academy, Flanders immediately went to look for Lin Feng, but he didn't see him in the academy. After asking around, it turned out that he had gone to the soul dueling arena. The soul dueling arena was too big, and there were many soul masters. Even if they knew Lin Feng's name, it was very difficult to find him. Therefore, after knowing that he was in the soul dueling arena, Flanders and the others didn't look for him and just waited quietly. In the afternoon, Lin Feng returned. Just now in the soul dueling arena, he was multitasking and fought an exciting team battle. At this moment, he was a little tired and was ready to go back to sleep. However, when he walked to the gate, Lin Feng saw something unusual. There were actually a few royal guards at the gate. Lin Feng asked around for a while and quickly found out what was going on. In the morning, Prince Xuexing personally came and brought Flanders to the palace. Lin Feng had thought about this before. After all, Douluo the Hell Wolf had discovered the situation back then. However, Shui acted too quickly. He didn't do anything and didn't get in the way of anyone, but he was already causing trouble. Just as Lin Feng was in a daze, an unfamiliar soul master walked over. He was a soul emperor. It was a middle-aged woman who was quite pretty. She came over and took out a letter. His Highness gave this to you. After saying that, she didn't wait for Lin Feng to say anything and left. Her purpose was only to deliver the letter. Your Highness? Xuexing? With that thought in mind, Lin Feng opened the envelope and took a look. Indeed, it was from Xuexing. The letter was very short, with only a few sentences. The gist of it was that the Snowy Night Emperor wanted to deal with Thanos and wanted him to pass on the message. It seemed that Xuexing was using him as a mouthpiece for Thanos. That wasn't a big deal. The main thing was that the Snow Night Emperor was being way too cautious. Was he going to deal with Lin Fan just like that? The number of soul cultivators in Heaven-Do City had increased over the past few days. Were they going to surround and kill him? This reaction was a little too big. For a moment, Lin Feng wanted to assassinate Shui and let Xuexing take over. That would save the Heaven-Do Empire a lot of trouble. However, Lin Feng knew that he couldn't kill Xuexing. There were too many guards in the palace. Putting aside the two titled Douluo, there were at least 10 soul Douluo and dozens of soul sages. If so many people surrounded Lin Fan, he wouldn't be able to escape as long as they used special soul skills to restrict him. Furthermore, as an empire with a long history, Lin Feng didn't believe that this was all they had. They might have hidden trump cards that they hadn't revealed yet. In the original novel, the Heaven-Do Empire even had the Sea God's divine weapon. They had a very deep foundation. Oh yes, there was another important point. There should be a special formation or treasure in the palace. Previously, he used his avatar to sneak into the palace to take a look. However, he lost contact not long after he entered. He didn't go missing. It was just that his range of control was greatly reduced. Outside, Lin Feng's avatar could only move about 4 kilometers away. His avatar could only move about 2 kilometers away. If he entered the palace, this distance would be reduced by 10 times. This distance was too short. Because of this, Lin Feng didn't enter the palace for safety reasons. After reading the letter, Lin Feng burned it. After that, he returned to the academy. He didn't want to bother with Shui for now. If he angered him, Lin Feng would beat him up a few times outside the palace and then run away. Let's see if he still dares to oppose me after a few more times. After returning to the academy, Lin Feng bumped into Zhao Wuji, who was about to leave. Then, he was dragged to the principal's office. At this moment, Flanders, Liu Erlong, and the Grandmaster were waiting there. After Lin Feng entered, the Grandmaster came up to him and said, "Little Feng, how are you today?" "Not bad. I just feel a little sleepy," Lin Feng said casually. "Today, Shui Yi of the Heaven Do Empire summoned us." Flanders went straight to the point. "When we were summoned, His Majesty said that he thinks highly of you and wants to make you a count. What do you think?" "Make me a count?" Lin Feng was stunned. He didn't understand what was going on. He thought that Flanders and the others were summoned to the palace to give him a beating. Why was he being made a count now? That's right. His Majesty said that he wants to make you a count himself. This is a treatment only soul sages get. After that, you can have a mansion in Heaven Do City. You can also choose a piece of land outside the city as your fief. To be honest, the title of Count was quite a high noble title. To a commoner, the highest noble title was the title of Count after performing meritorious deeds. As for the higher noble titles, they were usually treated like relatives of the emperor. A count would have a fief and a mansion in the city. The mansion would even be guarded by soul sages. The fief outside the city would also be able to recruit soldiers. Shui Yi wasn't afraid of having an army in his fief. No matter how many soldiers there were, they couldn't compare to him. These soldiers could also strengthen Heaven Do City's defenses. This was a good thing. If he became a count, it would be much easier for him to become an official in the palace. Furthermore, he would have more authority. "Count, I won't enter the palace, and I won't listen to any summons in the future. If you agree to these two conditions, I can accept the title of Count," Lin Feng said. Lin Feng knew a little about the empire's nobility system. If he became a count, he would have a lot of authority, but he would also have to obey the empire. If the empire summoned him, he would have to go. If he didn't go, he would be considered a traitor. Under such circumstances, the empire would punish him, and it would be a legitimate one. Lin Feng wasn't interested in this method. If he had to fulfill his obligations, he could refuse. After all, he didn't really need it. However, if it was directly given to him, he could accept it. After all, it wasn't good to have someone give you something. A piece of legal land was quite interesting. It would be fun to play with it as a game. Chapter 289. Well, it would be a miracle if a count like that could appear, the master said. Not going to the palace to accept the title and not listening to the summons? Wasn't that a free reward? What was interesting was that the master actually thought it was possible. After all, Lin Feng had Thanos' support. If Emperor Shui Yi really wanted to show his goodwill to Thanos, it would be acceptable. If that was the case, Lin Feng could accept it. Without any restrictions, the title would be very tempting. The only thing they were worried about was that Shui Yi would refuse or even get angry. Things would take a turn for the worse if that happened. Will His Majesty allow such a title to appear? Flanders was worried. We were called in because Mr. Destroy and those people had a fight in the city. This is against the rules of the Heaven Do City. What if we ask for too much and something happens? Flanders was worried that something would happen to the Shrek Academy. After all, the Shrek Academy was too weak in the face of the major forces. Tang, San had been easily taken away. They had searched everywhere, but no one had helped them. The nobles had ignored them and pretended not to know anything. Under such circumstances, they knew that being weak was a sin. At this time, he said this to ask Lin Feng if Thanos would protect them. It doesn't matter if he allows it or not. I can give up the title. I don't really care. After a brief moment of contemplation, Lin Feng said, Master Mia won't be staying in Heaven Do City forever, but he won't leave me in the lurch. On top of that, he told me that he's already subdued the poison Douluo, and that he'll be sending him to protect me. This. The three masters and Zhao Wuji all had their mouths agape. What did they just hear? A titled battle pet warrior named Douluo was going to be Lin Feng's bodyguard. It was important to note that titled Douluo were one of the most powerful individuals on the entire continent. However, they were now acting as someone's bodyguard. They did not know how to describe this situation. Even His Majesty Shui Yi did not receive such treatment. Looking at the shocked people, Lin Feng's lips curled into a smile that said, "I have a strong backer." Douluo had been on leave for a few days, and it was time for him to return to work. Since he was going to stay at the Shrek Academy for a long time, it would be a good idea to transfer Douluo over to be his bodyguard. That was the poison Douluo he was talking about. He wasn't the strongest among the title battle pet warriors, but he was the best at dealing with groups of people. If he unleashed his poison mist at full force, all the people in his city would die. It was simply terrifying. If Lin Feng and Poison Douluo worked together, they would not have to worry about being besieged. When the poison mist sprayed out, no one would dare to come into contact with it unless they were backed up by a powerful soul master. Lin Feng had asked Douluo to come over mainly as a deterrent. In the city, who would dare to fight Douluo? Both Douluo and Douluo were related to the Shrek Academy. Even if His Majesty Shui Yi wanted to do something, he would have to think twice. Lord Mia is really strong. After a moment of shock, Grandmaster finally managed to squeeze out these words from his mouth. He had to admit that. Tang San's father, Hao Qianduo, was strong enough, but he could not make another titled battle pet warrior so obedient. At this time, Slayer Lord directly asked Douluo to be Lin Feng's bodyguard. It was too awesome. "So, do you want to go to the palace again?" Lin Feng asked, referring to Douluo's knighthood. Flanders came back to his senses and said, "No. There are people from the palace outside the academy. We will tell them our decision." "I see. Then there's nothing else for me to do here. I'm going to sleep." With that, Lin Feng left. The four people looked at each other, still in shock. A titled battle pet warrior, Douluo's bodyguard. They found it hard to believe. Lin Feng fell asleep soon after he left. Multitasking was too tiring. Sleeping was the best way to recover. As for Douluo, he could call him at any time. When he woke up, he would go over and call him. While Lin Feng was asleep, His Majesty Shui Yi was informed of his decision. This Lin Feng doesn't know what's good for him. He's a commoner, and he's so picky about the knighthood. He's delusional. His Majesty Shui Yi was furious. If it weren't for the fact that Douluo was related to a titled battle pet warrior Douluo, he wouldn't have even heard of Lin Feng's name. After all, at his position, the world was different from normal people. Anyone who could catch his eye was already very impressive. "Your Majesty, this Thanos might be a rank 95 title battle pet warrior Do," Taya said seriously. The only person who's directly related to him is Lin Feng. In Taya's opinion, since they didn't know Thanos' identity, they had to avoid making enemies. Their first choice was to be friendly. In the Heaven Do Empire, the palace would invest in talented soul masters who had the potential to become soul masters or titled battle pet warriors. If they could rope them in, they would. If they couldn't, they had to be friendly. Taya and Hell Wolf had been like this. Douluo had also been roped in by Prince Xuexing. He had been given enough benefits before he became Xuexing's guest. It was because of this foresight that the Heaven Do Empire could survive for so long. Rank 95. Rank 95. Shui was a bit annoyed as he repeated this. Of course, he knew how powerful a rank 95 was. But because he knew, he was very puzzled. Why would a rank 95 title battle pet warrior Douluo suddenly appear? He knew the situation in the Star Luo Empire, and he also knew the situation in the Heaven Do Empire. There were no additional rank 95 title battle pet warriors Douluo. Hao Qianduo, or some other hidden powerful person. There was a possibility, but it wasn't very likely. They wouldn't benefit from it. Was it purely to protect the Shrek Academy? That didn't make sense. The probability was too low. After much deliberation, Shui Yi believed that the Martial Spirit Palace was the most likely reason. Both in terms of profit and possibility, the Shrek Academy was likely to belong to the Martial Spirit Palace, especially the Master. He used to be an honorary elder of the Martial Spirit Palace, and he seemed to be related to the Pope. Because of that, Shui Yi believed that the Martial Spirit Palace was scheming. Anything unusual in the Martial Spirit City? Shui Yi asked all of a sudden. Generally speaking, as long as several title battle pet warriors didn't leave the Martial Spirit City at the same time, the matter wouldn't be urgent, and he wouldn't have received any reports. Since Shui Yi had taken the initiative to look for information, he soon learned that Ghost Charm and Yu Guan, the two titled battle pet warriors, had left the Martial Spirit Palace not long ago. Both of them were veteran titled battle pet warriors at rank 95, Douluo. And the number 95, what a coincidence. Because of that, Shui Yi was almost certain that the Shrek Academy belonged to the Martial Spirit Palace. There was no other way to put it. It was just a hunch. Chapter 290. While Shui Yi, Taiya, and Hell Wolf were analyzing the situation, Xue Qinghe came to visit. He was there to gather information. He had asked Shui Yi about the note that had been sent out earlier. Shui Yi liked him very much and was training him as a successor. If Xue Qinghe wanted to go in, he would not be stopped. Shui Yi allowed Xue Qinghe to come in directly. Taiya and Hell Wolf did not hide anything. As the crown prince, Shui Yi knew of their existence. As for whether there were more powerful titled Douluo in the palace, Xue Qinghe did not know. Maybe there were, maybe not. Qinghe, you came at the right time. I told you about Thanos yesterday. Today, I will tell you about it. Listen carefully. Shui Yi felt that he had seen through everything. He was excited. Father, you already know about Thanos? Xue Qinghe asked with a smile. Xue Qinghe's heart skipped a beat. He glanced at the two titled Douluo. Could it be that his relationship with Lin Feng had been exposed? Xue Qinghe was very careful every time he went out. He was well prepared and used soul bones to disguise himself. Not even titled Douluo could tell. Of course, Shui Yi said with a smile. Xue Qinghe was nervous. He started to think quickly. At this moment, Shui Yi said confidently, Thanos is probably a titled Douluo from the Martial Spirit Palace who is protecting the Shrek Academy. He must have some secret. And Lin Feng, he is just a commoner. He was made a count, but he did not listen to the summons and did not dare to enter the palace. There must be something wrong. Shui Yi figured out Lin Feng's and Thanos' identities from the information and their actions. Shui Yi was very satisfied that he had seen through everything. He was sure that his speculation was correct. On the other hand, Xue Qinghe's expression remained the same, but he heaved a long sigh of relief in his heart. He thought that Thanos' identity had been exposed. That was it. That was it. There was no evidence at all. Just based on his own guess, he was sure of one thing. As expected of you, Emperor Snowy Night. Qinghe, what do you think? Shui Yi looked at Xue Qinghe with a smile. Xue Qinghe cupped his fists and praised. Imperial Father is extremely intelligent. Qinghe admires you. Ha ha ha. Shui Yi burst out laughing, unable to hide the smug look on his face. Taiya frowned and said, Your Majesty, the Martial Spirit Palace hasn't made any big moves recently. Besides, even a level 95 title battle pet warrior like Douluo might not be able to defeat Ten Soul Douluo by himself. I'm afraid something is wrong. In fact, there were many loopholes in Shui Yi's idea. But at the same time, there were many situations that pointed to the Martial Spirit Palace. Shui Yi laughed when he heard Taiya's suspicion. He said confidently, You haven't noticed, have you? According to the description of the defeated soul, Douluo, the one called Thanos wears a white mask. His martial spirit is a weapon that can transform. He also has the power of lightning. This is all very normal, but there were people who saw a flower appear, and the other party's movements were like ghosts, too fast. Have you ever seen a titled battle pet warrior like Douluo Master, so many powerful and strange abilities at the same time? Not long ago, Gue Mei and Yu Guan left the Martial Spirit City. A flower appeared in Thanos' hand, and he moved like a ghost. He was able to defeat Ten Soul Douluo at the same time. I think the two of them must have done something secretly. Shui Yi's guess was far-fetched, but on second thought, it was possible. In fact, Shui Yi was just making things up. That was how people were. They were only willing to believe what they believed. At the moment, Shui Yi was certain that the Martial Spirit Palace had done it. Therefore, he felt that everything looked like what the Martial Spirit Palace had done. He could find a reason to refute what others said. Bickering was an innate ability of humans. When you felt that the other party was a contrarian, the contrarian would also feel that you were a contrarian. But Hell Wolf still wanted to say something. Shui Yi interrupted him. All right, send the 10,000 Soul Master team to the Shrek Academy. Capture Lin Feng and the 3 people who were invited just now. Hell Wolf Douluo will lead the team secretly. Destroying the entire Shrek Academy had to be done carefully. Shui prepared to capture the higher-ups and Lin Feng first. In order to prevent Thanos from appearing and stopping them, he also sent Hell Wolf. Yes, Your Majesty. In fact, Hell Wolf did not agree with Shui Ye's point of view, but since the order had been given, he had to carry it out. However, he felt that things were very strange. If Thanos was really from the Martial Spirit Palace, why did he make such a big deal out of it? There was no reason at all. Making a big deal out of it was useless other than attracting attention. The Martial Spirit Palace would not be so stupid, right? Furthermore, Ing Luan Doa, who was secretly guarding the Martial Spirit Palace, had disappeared. Douluo seemed to have disappeared for a long time because of the people from the Shrek Academy. This Shrek Academy seemed to be the center of this time. It was very unreasonable for the Martial Spirit Palace to choose such a place. However, what the Snow Knight Emperor said was also possible. It was just that he did not think so. What if the Snow Knight Emperor guessed correctly? If he objected now, what would he think later? Because of this worry, Hell Wolf did not say much. Instead, he quickly carried out the order. This time, they captured the Golden Iron Triangle and a student, Lin Feng. The 10,000 Soul Master team, led by Hell Wolf, was the Empire's most elite existence. Their main purpose was to intimidate. There were 2 Soul Daw, 30 Soul Sages, over 100 Soul Emperors, and the rest were all Soul Kings. That's right, this was a team of 10,000 Soul Kings. At the same time, this was the strongest confidence of the Heaven Do Empire. With such a strong team of Soul Masters working together, even a titled Douluo would not be able to withstand a single blow. This was because such a team of Soul Masters would have an attack that combined the soul power of all the Soul Masters. It was just like the fusion skill of Shrek's 7 monsters in the original work. 7 people, even if their martial souls conflicted, could still use a powerful soul skill. This could not be called a fusion skill because their martial souls were not fused at all. It could only be said that everyone's soul power was combined. This was called a fusion skill. Bringing such a team to the Shrek Academy, Shui Yi reckoned that even Thanos would not dare to appear. A team of 10,000 Soul Masters walking in Heaven Do City had a huge impact. As long as one was a slightly stronger Soul Master in the city, they would be able to hear the shocking footsteps. Flanders and the rest naturally heard it too. Furthermore, the sound was getting louder and louder. This meant that those people were getting closer and closer. This was not right, very not right. Flanders released his martial soul and flew into the sky. After seeing the situation clearly, his expression changed drastically. He immediately ran towards Lin Feng. Chapter 291. After relaying the news to the guards, Flanders and the others thought that His Majesty would either agree or refuse. Logically speaking, His Majesty should give them a buffer period or something. After all, they had just been drinking in the palace. But now, His Majesty had brought an army of Soul Masters over. What was he trying to do? Was he trying to flatten the Shrek Academy in Heaven Do City? No matter what, this was an army of Soul Masters. Furthermore, they were so densely packed that the entire street was filled with people. One had to know that the main street of Heaven Do City was wide enough for 12 cavalrymen to ride side by side. To be able to fill up such a street, one couldn't see the end of it. There were probably thousands of people. Such a large army wasn't something they could deal with. They had to invite His Majesty Thanos over. Just like that, Flanders increased his speed to the maximum and flew towards Lin Feng. In fact, there was no need for Flanders to remind him. Lin Feng had already woken up. 10,000 soul cultivators walking through the city was a force that could shake the entire city. At this moment, the large factions in the city had sent out powerful Soul Masters to investigate the situation. Soul Sages and Soul Daw had all come out to inquire about the situation. As for the smaller factions, they were all scared into hiding. Who would dare to go out at a time like this? Originally, there were still many criminals in Heaven Do City, but now they all hid and didn't dare to make too much noise. No one knew what this army of 10,000 soul masters wanted to do. This was because the Snowy Night Emperor didn't announce the order to the public. He was going to find a reason to do so after everything was over. So far, only the 2 soul Douluo in the army knew the specific order. In secret, Hell Wolf Douluo was also ready to give the order at any time. Just as they were about to reach the entrance of the Shrek Academy, Lin Feng bumped into Flanders. Little Feng, there's an army of soul masters outside. Inside, Flanders looked anxious. But before he could finish, Lin Feng said, Dean, don't worry. Mr. Destroy has been in the city for the past few days. He will come when he hears the noise. That's great. Flanders was very excited. After waking up, Lin Feng immediately sent out his incarnation to call for help. The strength of such a legion of 10,000 soul masters was still very frightening. The main thing was that their soul power could connect with one another and form a whole. Many ants can bite an elephant to death. Quantitative change leads to qualitative change. Under the pressure of this enormous soul power, Lin Feng's smash probably wouldn't even cause a splash. Of course, Lin Feng was capable of killing them. His 4th soul skill, Sea of Flames, was an area of effect soul skill. As long as enough soul power was injected, the explosion would be able to destroy their soul power fusion field. Even if the explosion couldn't destroy it, he could let the flames burn and wear them down. It wouldn't take long for this group of people to exhaust their soul power and become lambs waiting to be slaughtered. But Lin Feng didn't want to kill people. These people didn't have a grudge against him. They were just a group of soul master soldiers who were following orders. Lin Feng could kill those who angered him and those who wanted to kill him without any psychological burden. Since he was born, Lin Feng had killed more than 10 people. The main reason was that they were fools from noble families who met him in the forest. Each of them had a screw loose and wanted to kill him for all kinds of reasons. In the end, not only were they killed, but the high-level soul masters who protected them were also killed. In total, Lin Feng had killed 5 fools. On average, he killed 1 every year. The rest were high-level soul masters who led him to hunt soul beasts. After all, there were all kinds of birds in the forest. Douluo had tens of millions of people in the continent, so it was normal for him to meet a few fools. Killing fools was one thing, but this didn't mean that Lin Feng was a murderous person. As a good youth who understood the core values of socialism, Lin Feng loved peace. He only needed to intimidate this 10,000-man army, and his identity as Thanos wasn't enough to intimidate people. That was because not many people knew his true strength. Even if his title, Douluo, was here, it wouldn't be of any use. But Douluo was different. He was an expert who had been famous for a long time. Moreover, he was an expert who used poison to attack groups. Everyone knew how powerful he was. Wherever this kind of person went to fight, their deterrence would naturally come out. At this moment, Lin Feng and Flanders chatted for a while. The latter quickly left. After such a big thing happened, the academy still needed his arrangements. Furthermore, he had to appear and stall for time. Lin Feng's identity as Thanos had already arrived at Douluo's residence. This was a luxurious residence in Heavendo City. The Snowy Night Emperor had personally given Douluo the title of an honorary duke. This duke was very free. Unless the empire was in a life-and-death situation, Douluo didn't have to do anything. This kind of treatment wasn't much different from Lin Feng's requirements. After all, Douluo was the only titled Douluo in Heavendo City. He had to have a reputation. Douluo naturally noticed the 10,000-man army's departure. He was investigating outside. Suddenly, Thanos appeared beside him. Douluo's expression tensed up. He immediately took 2 steps back and cupped his hands. "Greetings, my lord. The holidays are over." Thanos looked in the direction of the Shrek Academy. "I have a mission for you. Go to the Shrek Academy and get rid of this group of soul masters. Then, protect a student called Lin Feng." "Yes, my lord." Douluo didn't hesitate. He didn't even have any doubts. He'd already guessed that Thanos was related to the Shrek Academy. After all, whenever he did something related to the Shrek Academy, Thanos would appear. It was too much of a coincidence. After being subdued, he'd actually asked a few questions. Lin Feng hadn't said anything in detail, but he'd more or less tacitly agreed. Originally, he'd thought that Thanos was related to the Grandmaster or Flanders. He hadn't expected that he'd be related to a student like Lin Feng. Douluo was a little surprised, but he was more cautious. Lin Feng's identity was definitely not simple if he had to personally protect him. He had to protect him well. As long as you do this well, this will be yours in half a month. As he spoke, Lin Feng condensed a drop of sparkling liquid on his fingertip. This was the medicinal power of the immortal medicine. This was what he'd given Douluo last time. Lin Feng had eaten a lot later. Although the experience points had decreased, the medicinal power hadn't decreased at all. Now that he'd condensed a lot, it was best that Lin Feng took some out as a reward. Although the effect wasn't as good as the first time, it could still speed up the process of condensing his soul power. It was a good treasure. Chapter 292. Don't worry, my lord. I'll do it beautifully, Douluo said respectfully. Douluo was still very grateful to Lin Feng. Even if there wasn't any reward, he would still do his best. However, if there was a reward now, he would be very motivated. He also felt that he had followed the right person. Do your best. Lin Feng smiled and patted Douluo's shoulder. Douluo cupped his hands again. After that, he turned and ran towards the Shrek Academy. At this moment, the main force of the 10,000-man army had already gathered in front of the Shrek Academy's main gate. There were 1,000 high-level Soul Kings, all the Soul Emperors, Soul Sages, and Soul Douluo. These people were the main force of the army. The other few thousand people were scattered around the Shrek Academy and sealed off the entire academy. The two Soul Douluo leaders were very fierce. They wanted to lead people in. However, Flanders and the other two came out at this moment. Zhao Wuji followed behind them. They were the main force of the Shrek Academy. The suspects Flanders, Lu Erlong, and Yu Xiaojing have appeared. Take them down. Before Flender even had a chance to say anything, one of the Soul Douluo outside the gate yelled, "Come here, come here." Following this order, the Soul Sages in the army and the two Soul Douluo leaders surrounded them. The procedures of the Shrek Academy are all legal. The three of us haven't done anything outrageous recently. Today, we were summoned by His Majesty. What crime have we committed? Flanders shouted. However, it was useless. This group of people didn't seem to care about them. They charged straight at them. Fight! Lu Erlong shouted. Her martial soul was instantly attached to her body. The Grandmaster and Flanders weren't slow either. They also attached their martial souls to their bodies. The golden iron triangle appeared again. Zhao Wuji roared. He released his martial soul true body. He wanted to buy time for the Grandmaster and the others. Only when the golden holy dragon appeared would they be able to put up a fight. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to resist the encirclement of so many soul sages. At this moment, Ning Rongrong and the others were also running towards the entrance of the academy. They could feel the strong soul power undulations coming from there even though they were very far away. They're fighting. Let's hurry over and help them. Ning Rongrong said anxiously. There were battles between soul sages and above over there, so they wouldn't be able to do anything if they went over. Ning Rongrong's words didn't make sense at all and were even a little silly. However, humans were sentimental creatures. Even though they knew that it was useless to go over, they still wanted to help when the academy was in trouble. It didn't take long for the group to arrive at the entrance of the academy. They were able to see the shocking sight of the thousands of soul cultivators standing outside. The feeling of a sea of people looking at you with an imposing manner was not something that could be described with words. Right now, Zhao Wuji was still using his martial soul true body to resist the attacks of more than 10 people. The scene of soul skills flying all over the sky and the soul power that swept out like a storm was truly astonishing. Under such circumstances, the group that was still a little angry before gradually slowed down their footsteps. Some of them even stopped timidly. It was as if there was a raging storm in front of them, and they needed a lot of courage to even take a small step forward. Just as they were hesitating, Zhao Wuji was sent flying by Douluo's punch. He spat out blood in the air, and his martial soul true body was shattered. In the end, he fell to the ground with heavy injuries. However, the golden holy dragon was about to be summoned by the Grandmaster and the others. Zhao Wuji's delay was worth it. As long as the Grandmaster and the others used their martial soul fusion skill, they would have a chance to interrogate this group of people. However, at this moment, Lin Feng's eyes narrowed. He sensed a strong soul power undulation. It was from Douluo, who had been peeping near the Shrek Academy. He had made his move, and his target was the Grandmaster and the others. He was probably trying to interrupt their martial soul fusion skill. His opponent was very fast. A pitch-black claw mark appeared in the air and grabbed at Luo's Sanpao, who was above the three of them. Lin Feng could block it, but there was no need for him to do so. This claw was mainly used to disrupt the martial soul fusion skill, and it wouldn't do much damage to the Grandmaster and the others. On the other side, Douluo was about to arrive. Boom! The claw mark collided with Luo's Sanpao, and a huge soul power undulation erupted. The Grandmaster and the others were injured, and the people surrounding them were forced to retreat a distance. Someone had secretly made a move, and it was a tidal Douluo. Flanders was shocked. He didn't think that the Heavendo Empire would actually hide a tidal Douluo. This was just a guess, but now it was confirmed. Furthermore, they had actually sent out such a powerful expert to deal with them. At this moment, His Holiness Thanos still hadn't appeared. It seemed like they couldn't delay until then. Under Douluo's command, a group of soul sages immediately surrounded the three of them and prepared to capture them. At this moment, a loud shout came from afar. "Let's see who dares to touch them." It's by Lin Douluo. Poison Douluo is here. What's the situation now? The experts from the various major powers who were secretly observing the situation had expressions of interest on their faces. The Shrek Academy was really a troublesome place. The first time they heard of this name was when Douluo had captured Tang San, and then Flanders and the others had gone to the prince's residence to ask for him. This kind of gossip was spread among some families and powers, and the matter was left unsettled. Everyone forgot about it after hearing about it. The second time was during the battle not long ago. More than 10 Soul Douluo had been beaten out. Later on, it was revealed that the Shrek Academy had the backing of a tidal Douluo, and the connecting Force clan had even reconciled with the Shrek Academy. This matter had a huge impact, and the entire city was talking about it. However, it had only been a few days, and the heat had yet to die down. Before they could finish eating the melon, another big one had appeared. The Heavendo Empire's Soul Master Legion actually wanted to capture someone. This was too much. In the dark, Hellwolf's expression changed. Douluo had appeared. What was he trying to do? He had thought that Thanos would make a move, but he never expected Douluo to appear. The two Soul Douluo and the Legion also changed their expressions and immediately stopped their subordinates. Poison Douluo's reputation had spread across the entire continent. Any Soul Master with some strength would have heard of his name. Furthermore, everyone was afraid of his strength. Coupled with Douluo's noble status, how would they dare to disobey his orders? As his voice fell, Douluo jumped up and down a few times and arrived at the center of the battlefield. "Greetings, Poison Douluo." The two Soul Douluo hurriedly cupped their hands. They couldn't figure out Douluo's thoughts and were puzzled. At this moment, Douluo snorted. "I'll protect the people of the Shrek Academy. You guys can leave." Chapter 293. After all, there were two Soul Douluo. One of them was only over 60 years old and was already at rank 87. He had a good chance of becoming a titled Douluo. That was why Douluo's tone was still polite. Otherwise, he would have asked them to scram. "This is His Majesty's order. He wants us to bring them back. Please don't stop us, Poison Douluo." After hearing Douluo's words, Soul Douluo hurriedly replied. If Douluo wanted to protect everyone from Shrek Academy, it would be difficult to do so. After all, everyone still had the impression that Douluo was Prince Shui Xing's subordinate. Furthermore, they were here under Emperor Shui Ye's orders. It would be interesting if there was a conflict. His Majesty's order. Douluo squinted. As the ruler of the Heavendo Empire, the Emperor, everyone in the Heavendo Empire had a sense of reverence for him. Douluo was no exception. After all, he had grown up in such an environment. He was filled with respect for the Emperor. Even though he had become a titled Douluo, he was still a little fearful of the emperor. However, Douluo thought about it. So what if he was fearful? He was loyal to Thanos now. Thanos wanted him to protect the Shrek Academy. Therefore, he had to protect the Academy. Even if the emperor came personally, he couldn't do anything to the Academy. There was a kind of chivalry in Douluo's world. If one was loyal to a certain person or organization, one wouldn't betray them. Douluo was loyal to Thanos now. Therefore, he had to carry out the mission that Thanos had given him. As for Prince Shuexing, he wasn't loyal to him. He was only a guest elder to repay his kindness. No, the Shrek Academy is under my protection now. Don't even think about taking them away. I will talk to His Majesty. Douluo muttered. This. The two soul Douluo looked at each other. They could see the difficult looks on each other's faces. When they set off, they were ordered to capture the three of them, as well as Lin Feng no matter what. Earlier, there seemed to be an expert who had made a move. This was enough to show His Majesty's determination. However, with Douluo blocking the way, it was difficult to do so. Meanwhile, Netherwolf transmitted his voice to Douluo. Douluo, do you know what you're doing? His Majesty wants to capture them. Are you going to disobey His Majesty? Hua Yuhao quickly locked on Hui Yuhao's position based on his soul power undulations. He hid among the soul sages and disguised himself as a soul sage. Netherwolf, I'm now loyal to Lord Thanos. He's a peerless expert who's much more powerful than you and me. Don't make a mistake. It's best if you know what's good for you and withdraw. Douluo also transmitted. You're loyal to Thanos. They are from the Martial Spirit Palace. Are you going to commit treason? Deep Wolf's expression changed. It never occurred to him that Douluo, a titled battle pet warrior who had turned down the Emperor of Snowy Night's invitation, would pledge his loyalty to someone else. What a joke. How can Mr. Destroy be from the Martial Spirit Palace? He even beat up Yuguan and Gue Mei not long ago. Douluo was amused by Netherwolf's words. He actually thought that Thanos was from the Martial Spirit Palace. If he really was from the Martial Spirit Palace, they would have conquered the entire continent. What? Netherwolf was astonished. Thanos actually beat up Yuguan and Gue Mei? If Douluo wasn't lying, Thanos' abilities were completely beyond his imagination. He might not be rank 95, but rank 96 and above. After all, Yuguan and Gue Mei were both rank 95 title battle pet warriors. They were extremely powerful. Did this mean that the Emperor of Snowy Night speculations were all wrong? Just as Netherwolf was astonished, the two titled battle pet warriors from the Douluo Empire were a little anxious. Their 10,000-strong Soul Master Legion should be able to handle things well no matter what. After all, this was the Heaven Do Empire's elite legion. It was the symbol of the Empire's strength. If they were to retreat because of Douluo's words, where would their dignity go? Would the Emperor of Snowy Night still want his dignity? Even if what they did was wrong, it had to be right. At most, they could just let them go. After all, this was the prestige of the royal family. It was something that couldn't be challenged. Hence, no matter what, they had to bring these people away. As he thought about it, Soul Doa persuaded one last time. His Majesty said that these three people and a student called Lin Feng must be brought back. Please don't make a mistake, poison Douluo. At this moment, Netherwolf also understood the situation. He also knew that the Empire's reputation was here. However, if a strong person like Thanos was really as powerful as Douluo said, it wouldn't be wise for them to provoke him. As he thought about it, he transmitted a message to Douluo. Douluo, give me some face first. Let's bring these 4 people away. After that, you can go to the palace to get them. If it was possible, Douluo would definitely want to do so. After all, this was something that would benefit both sides. Not only would it take care of His Majesty's reputation, but it would also fulfill the request. However, the order that Douluo received previously was to ask this group of people to scram. Furthermore, Thanos specifically said that he had to protect Lin Feng. At this moment, he was actually going to be taken away. That wouldn't do. He rejected directly. Netherwolf, this won't do. This matter is special. Even if it means offending His Majesty, I won't hesitate. Looks like this matter can't be settled peacefully. Netherwolf also saw Douluo's insistence. He stopped persuading him and transmitted a message to the two soul Douluo. You guys capture them. I'll hold Douluo back. As he spoke, he was about to hold Douluo back. On Douluo's side, he wasn't flustered at all. If it was before, he might be a little flustered when facing Netherwolf. After all, his strength wasn't as strong as Netherwolf. However, now that his strength had increased greatly, Netherwolf was nothing. Hold him back and capture him? No way. However, just as the two parties were about to fight, a thunderous roar sounded from the side. You're just a small wolf. How dare you ignore my words? I told you not to let me see you again. As soon as he finished speaking, a rod actually instantly appeared by the Netherwolf side, and then it swept towards him. At this moment, Netherwolf's expression changed drastically. He could feel the aura of death. In a hurry, he couldn't dodge it. He hurriedly possessed his martial soul and raised his hand to block it. Bam! The long rod hit Netherwolf's arm, and a dull thud sounded. Following this, his body flew to the side like a kite with a broken string. He only stopped after smashing through a few walls. Netherwolf spat out a mouthful of blood. He was severely injured, and there was even a tinge of fear on his face. How is this possible? It was just an ordinary attack. He didn't even use a soul skill. He was a rank 92 titled Douluo, but he was severely injured. Even if he wasn't prepared and reacted hastily, the difference between the two of them still made him feel a little hopeless. The figure in the green robe and the white mask holding the rod made Netherwolf a little fearful. Chapter 294. This Thanos was too strong. That Douluo wasn't lying. At this time, with Thanos and Douluo here, they couldn't catch anyone this time. Go! Hurry up and leave. Hellwolf immediately sent a voice transmission to the two-soul Douluo, and then he immediately retreated. One Thanos was already so strong. If Douluo attacked again, he would definitely die. For safety's sake, he was the first to run. The two-soul Douluo were also frightened by Lin Feng's strike. That soul Douluo should be the hidden titled Douluo, but he was actually seriously injured by a single strike. This was completely beyond their comprehension, and their hearts were filled with fear. At this moment, Hellwolf sent a voice transmission to them to leave. They didn't dare to stay any longer and immediately ordered everyone to retreat. As for Lin Feng, he didn't stay any longer. After striking with his staff and watching Hellwolf leave, he also disappeared. The reason why he took action was mainly because a fight was about to break out. A battle between titled Douluo was very strong. If they really fought, a large number of the buildings at the Academy's entrance might be damaged. And there was a tea house here that had pretty good tea. Lin Feng would run over to drink a cup when he returned from the Soul Arena. He didn't want to run out of good tea in the future. Just as the 10,000 Soul Master Army retreated, Douluo said to the surrounding people, I will be overseeing the Shrek Academy. Whoever wants to cause trouble, think twice. The surrounding onlookers were all experts from various large factions. They knew what Douluo meant when he said that he would protect a faction. This meant that the Shrek Academy's backer would be extremely powerful. In Heaven-Do City, the Shrek Academy would become an existence that could compete with the Heaven-Do Academy. It was enough to predict how prosperous the Shrek Academy would be in a few years. For a time, all the factions had the intention of befriending the Shrek Academy. Some factions even received some gossip that the Seven Treasures Glaze sect seemed to think highly of the Shrek Academy. Under such circumstances, the Shrek Academy would soon become the focus of the entire city. The Soul Master team retreated, and the Hellwolf quickly returned to the palace to report the information he had heard from Douluo. At this time, at the entrance of Shrek Academy, Lin Feng healed the injuries of several people. Thank you, His Majesty Poison Douluo, for your assistance. Flanders hurriedly cupped his hands towards Douluo. If you want to thank someone, thank His Holiness Thanos. I did it because of him. In the following period of time, I will be protecting student Lin Feng. With that, Douluo smiled and nodded at Lin Feng. Mr. Destroy told me about this, but I don't need your protection. You can just take up a position in the school, Lin Feng said. Asking Slayer Lord to protect him was just a casual remark. The main point was to let Douluo intimidate the 10,000 Soul Master Legion and scare them away. Douluo was a little hesitant. The mission he received was to protect Lin Feng's personal safety. Now that Lin Feng said that he didn't need protection, it was a little difficult for him. At this time, Lin Feng continued, "I will talk to Mr. Destroy. Nothing will happen. Senior, you just need to protect the Shrek Academy." In that case, all right. Douluo nodded. The mission changed from protecting a person to protecting the academy. In fact, the difference wasn't big. At most, he would spend more effort on Lin Feng in the future. At this time, everyone looked at Lin Feng with admiration. A titled Douluo's bodyguard was sent over, but he didn't want it and gave it to the academy instead. This selfless dedication was really admirable. At the same time, Flanders and the others were very grateful. No matter what, Thanos, who was behind Lin Feng, had saved them so many times. Since they couldn't find the person to express their gratitude, they could only thank Lin Feng. At this time, Douluo had joined their academy because of Lin Feng. Lin Feng was very humble in response to these words of gratitude. After all, he was used to it and didn't feel anything special. Just like that, with Douluo's addition to the Shrek Academy, a new chapter had begun. In the future, as long as one wasn't an idiot, no one would dare to provoke the Shrek Academy. Prince Xuexing probably wouldn't even dare to fart now. His biggest backer had joined the Shrek Academy. How could he have the courage to do anything? At this time, in the palace, Shui sat on a chair with a lonely expression. After he finished listening to Netherwolf's report, he immediately realized how ridiculously wrong he was previously. His deductions were all wrong, but that wasn't the main point. The most important thing was the other party's strength. He had actually severely injured Hell Wolf with one strike. Although they were agility-type Tidal Battle Pet warriors, Douluo was still a Tidal Battle Pet warrior. His defense was also very strong. To be able to injure Hell Wolf with one strike, his strength was terrifying. Moreover, Douluo had pledged his loyalty to Thanos. This was something they never expected. This guy had a strange temper. They had tried to rope him in so many times, but it was useless. They didn't expect him to pledge his loyalty to this Thanos. Your Majesty, this Thanos probably doesn't have any other intentions. Let's express our goodwill, Taya said. If the other party really had any other intentions, it would have been a good time. If Thanos and Douluo attacked together, Hellwolf would have most likely died, but the other party didn't. Therefore, Taya guessed that Thanos wasn't as dangerous as Shui thought. Express goodwill. Shui fell into deep thought. He wasn't stupid. Previously, he just thought wrongly. Now that the situation was set, he only needed to choose between continuing to oppose and making peace. Continuing to oppose was obviously unwise. It might cause unrest in the Empire. If he made peace, it would be a matter of face. However, this matter could be done secretly. The main thing was to express his goodwill. Thinking about it, he said, "That student called Lin Feng, I agree to his request. The 3 people we invited earlier will all be made earls. Also, Taya, go and ask Douluo if there's anything we can discuss." After giving these orders, Shui slumped to the ground like a deflated balloon. For an emperor, it was very difficult to make this decision. Later, Taya would go and talk to Douluo. If the results were good, he could accept it. However, if the other party made an excessive request, he might choose to continue opposing in anger. Wasn't he very strong? He would directly invite Ning, Fengji, and Dusty Heart from the 7 Treasures Glazed sect. He didn't believe that he would lose. The 7 Treasures Glazed sect had deep ties with the Heaven Do Empire. It wouldn't be a problem to ask the sect master to kill the enemy. Just like that, Shuiye's orders were quickly carried out. First, the news of the conferment was sent to Shrek Academy. After the other party knew that he wanted to express goodwill, Taya went over to talk to Douluo. Chapter 295. As a matter of fact, Flanders and the others were confused. They couldn't figure out why. In the end, with Lin Feng's reminder, they realized that the Snowy Night Emperor had given in and wanted to express his goodwill. They were astonished by this idea. The Emperor of Snowy Night, the ruler of the Heaven Do Empire, had admitted defeat. That was unbelievable. Lin Feng had guessed it, but he didn't expect it to happen so soon. It had been less than an hour, and the Emperor of Snowy Night had already admitted defeat. Right then, Lin Feng suddenly turned to the gate. Another title battle pet warrior, Douluo, had arrived. This one was even more powerful than the previous one. He stood outside the gate, emitting his energy to let the powerful ones inside know that he had arrived. Douluo's eyes flickered. He came to Lin Feng's side and said, "The iron-toothed Douluo is here. He's much stronger than the previous one. He should be here to negotiate. What should we say?" Douluo had received a message from Thanos, telling him to listen to Lin Feng for the next few days. Therefore, he was asking for Lin Feng's opinion. Lin Feng said, "Beat him up if he dares to make any demands." "We don't have any demands. Let's just mind our own business." After understanding the situation, Douluo immediately ran out and began to discuss with Taya. About 3 minutes later, Douluo came back. Things went well. Iron Tooth didn't make any demands, and the Emperor of Snowy Night gladly agreed. Apart from that, Iron Tooth wanted to know more about Thanos. Lin Feng didn't hide anything from Douluo. Douluo told Lin Feng what he wanted to know. Just like that, Iron Tooth went back with good news. Mind our own business. That was a good idea. The Emperor of Snowy Night could accept it. After all, Thanos had become more powerful than the Emperor of Snowy Night could imagine. The Emperor of Snowy Night was in no position to negotiate with him. The so-called continuing to oppose him was actually just a dead end. Unless he could seize the opportunity to have several title battle pet warriors attack Thanos together, he would have to face the revenge of a super powerful battle pet warrior as long as Thanos received the news and fled. Since the other party was able to make such a promise, it was already good enough that they minded their own business. As a matter of fact, Douluo's background wasn't the most terrifying thing. This was because soul masters like them would have their own fetters, concerns, and misgivings. Soul masters like them were easier to deal with. What was frightening was someone like Lin Feng, a solo expert whose background was unknown. This kind of person had no scruples in doing things. Even though he had come to an agreement with Thanos, Shui was still worried that Thanos would run into the palace one day and kill him. Of course, this was just Shui thinking too much. Lin Feng was not that bored. At this time, he had already run back to sleep. He had been woken up midway. Now that everything was over, he naturally had to go back to sleep. This caused Ning Rongrong and the others to exclaim in admiration. They said that Lin Feng was very carefree and could still sleep. Without explaining anything, Lin Feng slept very soundly. The others were not so carefree. They gathered together to discuss. After today's events, the group of people who originally had a good impression of the royal family had seen through them. They did not expect the Snowy Night Emperor to be such a person. He was much weaker than Xue Qinghe. While the people in the academy were discussing, the upper echelons of the large family clans were also discussing. They analyzed the situation and came up with a plan. However, they soon received a warning from the upper echelons that this matter was not to be spread. It was the Snowy Night Emperor who ordered people to seal the news. After all, this concerned his reputation. The fewer people who knew, the better. Just like that, 5 days passed in the blink of an eye. These days were very peaceful. The entire Heavendo city was very peaceful. Apart from the House of Strength and the Shrek Academy, no other family clans dared to befriend them. The reason was simple. No one dared to be the first to stand out. The current situation was very clear. The Shrek Academy and the royal family were in a standoff. The families in Heavendo City were naturally on the side of the royal family. At this time, standing out was the riskiest. What if they offended the Snowy Night Emperor by befriending the Shrek Academy? At that time, the unlucky ones would be their families. Because of this, no one dared to make a move. However, as time passed, the various families would start to play around the edges. For example, sending people to the Shrek Academy or sponsoring gold coins. In any case, they would slowly test the Snowy Night Emperor. If nothing happened, the Shrek Academy would become incomparably prosperous. There would be an endless stream of people coming every day. In any case, undercurrents were surging in Heavendo City. On the other hand, Martial Spirit City was very quiet. Originally, some of the elders were calling for their friends to impeach the Pope. However, today, Yu Guan and Gue Mei returned. They brought back 3 soul bones. 2 were 10,000 year, and 1 was 40,000 year. A 40,000-year soul bone was worth more than 3 10,000-year soul bones. Therefore, Yu Guan and Gui Mei made up for the hole in the soul bone. During this time, they killed many 10,000-year soul beasts. They even attracted the attention of the Titan giant ape in the forest. Only then did they slowly stop. Fortunately, they were lucky enough to obtain a 40,000-year soul bone. The 2 elders returned with a 40,000-year soul bone in their hands. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Bibi Dong held a meeting to praise them and win over the hearts of the people. Ying Luan returned to Heaven Do City. When he left, it was calm. When he returned, it was also calm. At first, he didn't discover anything. However, when he learned about what had happened in the past few days through the Martial Spirit Hall's channels, he was shocked. There was a battle between the titled Douluo in the city. There was also the matter of the Snowy Night Emperor. Could it be that the world of soul masters, which had been quiet for more than 10 years, was going to be turbulent again? Because of the battle between the Martial Spirit Hall and the Clear Sky Sect, as well as the Clear Sky Sect's retreat, the entire world of soul masters became quiet. There was no passion, not to mention the battle between the titled law, so rarely went out. The world of soul masters was like a pool of stagnant water. There was no vitality. But now, it seemed that there was a trend of activity again. Even a powerhouse like Thanos had appeared. However, he didn't know whether this was good or bad. Under the impact of the general trend, even a large force like the Martial Spirit Hall could be destroyed. England didn't think too much. He only hoped that nothing would happen to His Highness and that he could complete his mission safely. This was a dangerous move that Bibi Dong had been playing for more than 10 years. At the same time, it was a very important move. As long as it succeeded, the Martial Spirit Hall would take over the world. No force could stop them. Chapter 296. On this day, Lin Feng was preparing to go to the Great Soul Arena to continue today's battle. But after taking a few steps, his gaze was attracted by a scene on the right. It was still the same tea house. Xue Qinghe was sitting by the window on the 2nd floor, looking at him at this moment. Lin Feng sensed his gaze, looked back at him, and then walked over. This surprised Xue Qinghe. How could he notice this? He originally sent someone downstairs. As long as Lin Feng appeared, that person would go over and bring him over. After all, Lin Feng didn't feel strong and shouldn't be able to notice his gaze. But he didn't expect Lin Feng to notice it directly. Did he misjudge his strength? Or was his martial soul special? Or is it just pure luck? Just as he was thinking about this, Lin Feng came up. He wasn't stupid enough to ask his doubts. He used his soul power to seal this small space so that no sound could be transmitted out. Then he said, "Tell Mr. Destroy that Elder Yingluan is back. We can make a move now. Some news can be escorted by his subordinates, but important plans have to be made in person." "I got it. Is there anything else?" Lin Feng took a sip of tea and nodded. In fact, when he saw Xue Qinghe, he roughly knew what the message was. After hearing it, he was just being polite. "Do you have someone you like?" Xue Qinghe suddenly asked. This question made Lin Feng choke on his tea. After coughing twice, he said, "Why do you ask this question?" At first, Lin Feng was puzzled as to why Xue Qinghe would ask such a question. But soon, he came back to his senses. It was about the Marvel family that he mentioned last time. At that time, he talked nonsense for a while and fooled Xue Qinghe. After that, Xue Qinghe didn't respond, and he was busy with other things, so Lin Feng forgot about it for a while. Now that he was asked, he recalled this matter. "I'm just asking." Xue Qinghe also took a sip of tea. "If you don't, I can introduce you. I know quite a few of the daughters of the major noble families in Heaven Do City." Upon hearing this, Lin Feng's expression turned slightly strange. "Xue Qinghe. Oh, Xue Qinghe, I didn't expect you to be this kind of person. You know all the daughters of the noble families. This is too showy." Seeing that Lin Feng was in a daze, Xue Qinghe continued. "How is it? Are you tempted? What kind of girls do you like? I can pick one for you." On the surface, Xue Qinghe was introducing a girlfriend to Lin Feng, but in reality, he was trying to find out what Lin Feng liked. He had never given up on the idea of marrying into the Marvel family. He hadn't done anything before. He was just looking for an opportunity. At the same time, he was also looking for those people named Parker and Tony. Later, he found those people. He found them in the Great Soul Arena. He also watched their battle. They were very powerful, but he didn't know their age. The most important thing was that as soon as these people finished their battle, they would disappear inexplicably, and he couldn't see them at all. In this case, he was going to test Lin Feng first. Don't be shy. As long as you say what you want, I can definitely introduce you. Seeing that Lin Feng was silent, Xueqing has said to ease the awkwardness. I don't need it. Lin Feng said with a slightly strange expression. How can I not need it? People like you from the Marvel family are so outstanding. You should have an outstanding girlfriend. How about my sister Xueku? She's very beautiful and a little younger than you. To get close to the Marvel family, he doesn't necessarily have to marry into the family. If he can get Xueku over, it can be a good plan. You don't have to worry about this, Your Highness. I actually have someone I like. Lin Feng was just playing around and talking nonsense. He didn't know why, but he liked to talk nonsense in front of Xueqing. Maybe it was because of the other party's identity as a super spy, or maybe it was a sense of superiority after seeing through his identity. Anyway, as long as he saw Xueqing anxious, Lin Feng felt that it was quite interesting. You have someone you like? Xueqing frowned, but he quickly smiled and said, I'm very curious. What kind of beautiful woman can be liked by a genius like you? His tone was half joking, which made people feel comfortable. I didn't make them feel irritated. However, Lin Feng said, this is a secret. Xueqing was slightly mad in his heart, but on the surface, he still smiled and said, Can you tell me about the Marvel family? I'm very curious about Mr. Destroy's family. Actually, I'm not too sure about this. Lin Feng pondered for a moment and said, I heard that once upon a time, there was a mountain and there was a temple on the mountain. There were two soul masters in the temple, a soul master and a little soul master. One day, the soul master said to the little soul master, Once upon a time, there was a mountain and there was a temple on the mountain. There were two soul masters in the temple, and one. At this point, Xueqing immediately reacted. Wait. How long is this legend of yours? His face was full of bewilderment, and he felt that things were a little strange. I'm not sure about this either. Lin Feng scratched his head and said with a serious face, Anyway, Mr. Destroy told me for more than 3 hours, and then I fell asleep. I don't know what happened after that. Xueqing was speechless. Wasn't this an infinite loop of a bedtime story? To be able to talk for 3 hours, Lord Nian must be really bored. Especially you, Lin Feng, who could actually listen for 3 hours. No one else could. But then again, was Lin Feng really that stupid? He was so strong and a genius. It was impossible that he didn't notice this, right? Wasn't this contradictory? Thinking about it carefully, Xueqing felt that Lin Feng was playing with him. But he had no evidence because Lin Feng's expressions were very real, and it felt like everything was real. Xueqing couldn't doubt Lin Feng's stupidity, right? That would be too offensive, so in the end, he could only keep it in his heart. Do you still want to listen? I can continue to tell you. Lin Feng continued with a serious face. In fact, looking at Xueqing's doubtful eyes, his heart was already blooming with joy. This tea house was indeed a good place. Not only was there good tea to drink, but there was also fun to be had. It was great. No need. Xueqing had guessed that Lin Feng was deliberately teasing him. He didn't want to tell him about the Marvel family, so he was playing with him here. Xueqing couldn't be alone for too long, or something big would happen. It seemed that he wouldn't be able to get anything out of him today, so he could only wait for the next opportunity. Thinking about it, he got up and said, I've brought the news. I have something to do in the palace, so I'll go back first. If you take a fancy to my sister, you must tell me. Lin Feng did not say anything, but just smiled and continued to drink his tea. This Xueqing was really an interesting person. There would be fun in the future. Chapter 297. Yingluan was back. According to the plan, Lin Feng was going to wait 3 days before catching him. This way, Xueqing would inform the Martial Spirit Palace to send someone over to beat Lin Feng. Lin Feng didn't have to worry too much about how to get it over. Xueqing would arrange it anyway. After leaving the tea house, Lin Feng quickly went to the soul dueling arena and began today's soul dueling. Just like that, a day passed quickly. At night, Lin Feng got up from his bed and walked outside. Suddenly, a black shadow fell from the sky and laid on Lin Feng's shoulder. Meow, Xiaoying licked Lin Feng's face and let out a happy cry. Tonight was the day Lin Feng went out to break through his soul ring. In fact, his experience points had already reached 200 million a few days ago. It seemed to have been reached during the fight with Titan and the others. The main reason why he delayed his breakthrough until today was because of Xiaoying. This kitten broke through a little too quickly previously and hadn't adapted to the sudden increase in strength until today. After feeding him a bit more life force, Lin Feng quickly ran out of the city. He was very fast. In less than 10 minutes, Lin Feng found an uninhabited mountaintop. As usual, his avatar and incarnation stood guard outside. On a mountain, Lin Feng used the 1000G ruler to wrap himself and Xiaoying. Then he chose to break through. 200 million experience points disappeared in an instant, and Lin Feng's first and second soul rings quickly turned from black to red. A huge aura rose, and the other soul rings on his body also appeared one after another, intertwining with each other and resonating with each other. And this powerful soul power fluctuation also surged into Xiaoying's body under Lin Feng's guidance. For a moment, Xiaoying's aura also soared. Its body instantly expanded to 8 meters in size, and it was still slowly increasing in size. Lin Feng had a lot of experience, so he quickly suppressed the soul ring's undulations. At this moment, he had the rainbow immeasurable flower in his left hand and the white immeasurable ruler in his right. The 8 red 100,000-year soul rings on his body gave off an extremely terrifying aura. At this moment, Lin Feng had a feeling that he could break through this world. Of course, this was just an illusion brought about by the rapid increase in strength. He quickly adapted to it and put away his soul rings and martial soul. At this time, Xiaoying's body continued to grow, but it was very slow. 90,000 years, 93,000 years, 95,000 years. As his body grew slower and slower, his strength also grew slower and slower. Furthermore, the powerful soul power undulations in the cave also gradually dissipated. He felt that at this rate, let alone 100,000 years, it might not even reach 98,000 years. I can't go on like this. Lin Feng quickly summoned the immeasurable flower and used Life Bloom. Endless life force gathered the surrounding soul power energy and then transferred it into Xiaoying's body. This was like a great tonic, and Xiaoying's body grew by a small amount. Its strength was also equivalent to that of a 98,000 years old. This was not the end. Lin Feng condensed a drop of immortal medicine essence from his body and mixed it into the ball of soul power. At this moment, Xiaoying's aura increased once again. An invisible wind appeared in the surroundings, wreaking havoc on the surrounding walls. Even Lin Feng's 1000G ruler, which had turned into a barrier, was scratched a little. This was because Xiaoying's strength had increased too quickly and caused his soul power to be unstable. It would soon calm down. At this moment, under the powerful energy, Xiaoying turned into a ball of light, and there was a faint earth-shattering feeling. Is he going to break through 100,000 years? But in the next second, Lin Feng knew that he was thinking too much. Although the aura slowly dissipated and the soul power fluctuations gradually cooled down, Xiaoying's figure also gradually shrank from the size of 10 meters. Finally, he turned back into a small cat and jumped on Lin Feng's shoulder. 99,999 years. This was Xiaoying's strength just now. He was only one step away from becoming a 100,000-year soul beast. However, Lin Feng knew that this step was not so easy to cross. Xiao was also lucky last time. Under the guidance of Tang San's soul power fluctuations, she was able to condense a 10,000-year soul ring. It was already so difficult for a 1,000-year soul ring to break through to the 10,000-year level. It would be even more difficult for a 10,000-year soul ring to break through to the 100,000-year level. Xiaoying's strength had increased again, and he had to spend time to stabilize and adapt. In the end, it would take a long time to break through to the 100,000-year level. Ignoring Xiao Ying's side for now, Lin Feng's two paths had become stronger after breaking through to the 100,000-year level. His first soul skill, Life Bloom, not only had an outstanding recovery ability, it could also increase the attributes of everyone within 100 meters by 50%. Take note, it was everyone within 100 meters. This was a super powerful soul skill with an area of effect. 50% for everyone. Just thinking about it was terrifying. This soul skill was almost comparable to the entire Seven Treasures glazed sect. Although this soul skill was the kind that could not differentiate between friend and foe, Lin Feng could control it himself. His multitasking ability happened to be used here. During battle, he could accurately prevent the enemy from being affected by his soul skill. Then there was his second soul skill, a control-type soul skill within an area of effect. Now, the range had increased to 100 meters, and the control effect had increased. The most important thing was that after controlling, he could temporarily steal 30% of the other person's attributes. 30% of the attributes was still a lot. If Lin Feng attacked Martial Spirit City now, he could control all the soul masters below titled Douluo in the city. This way, he could beat up titled Douluo and then control all the titled Douluo. He could even fight against Thousand Dao Flow. Cough cough. This was actually just in theory. In reality, this plan was not feasible at all. On one hand, those people from the Martial Spirit Palace were not blockheads. They would not foolishly watch you trap them. They would resist, and Thousand Dao Flow would not do anything. They would definitely take action in advance. Another thing was that there was a limit to this absorption. In order to maintain his powerful combat strength, Lin Feng had added many amplification soul skills to himself. This way, he would become extremely strong. If he fused too much of other people's attributes at this time, Lin Feng felt that he might explode and die. Furthermore, Lin Feng also faintly discovered that there seemed to be a ceiling in the strength of Douluo's world. If he broke that ceiling, he might attract the attention of the God Realm. In other words, he might be directly drawn away by the God Realm. If that was the case, Lin Feng would be very uncomfortable. After all, there were too many strong people in the God Realm. If Lin Feng went over, he would be hammered by all kinds of things. He might even die. This was not what he wanted. Because of this and that, Lin Feng rarely used this soul skill. At this moment, Lin Feng's strength had increased a little. Although he still could not win against Thousand Dao Flow, he should be able to suppress Golden Alligator. Chapter 298. Name: Lin Feng Martial Soul, Thousand Trick Ruler, Immeasurable Flower Soul Power. Rank 82, plus, Thousand Trick Ruler Soul Ring. None Special Soul Skill. Avatar Immeasurable Flower Soul Ring. Snow Lotus 100 million year, plus, Soul Skill. Life Bloom Ghost Head Predatory Spider, 100 million year, plus, Soul Skill. Shadow Bind Armored Giant Bear 100 million year, plus, Soul Skill. Armored Demonic Bear, Transformation Raging Demonic Monkey, 100 million year, plus, Soul Skill. Raging Sea of Flames Nether Civet, 100 million year, plus, Soul Skill. Nether Body Lightning Falcon 100 million year, plus, Soul Skill. Thunderbolt Strength Wind Dragon 100 million year, plus, Soul Skill. Martial Soul True Body Chigoin Blood Shadow Beast 100 million year, plus, Soul Skill. Teleport can swap positions with Avatar Soul Bone. Wind Dragon Left Leg Bone 100 million year, plus, Soul Skill 1. Hatheart Soul Skill 2. Wind Invisibility Chigoin Blood Shadow Beast Skull 100 million year, plus, Soul Skill 1. Spatial Imprisonment Soul. Skill 2. Blood Fiend Experience Points. 34185412. Lin Feng was now a rank 82 Douluo with 800,000 year soul rings and 200,000 year soul bones. His strength might not be considered much in the God Realm, but on the Douluo continent, he was a super strong individual who could establish a sect and protect it for 100 years. Currently, his strength was considered to be at the ceiling. Right now, He had three choices if he wanted to increase his strength while ensuring that his soul power didn't increase. First, he could add a soul ring to his second martial soul and use experience points to strengthen it. Second, it was similar to the first one. He could obtain a soul bone and strengthen it. This was because he had to find a soul bone that was compatible with his soul ring. Third, he could continue to strengthen his current soul ring. When a soul ring broke through the 100,000-year level, it would require 10,000 experience points to upgrade it. This meant that Lin Feng would need 9 billion experience points if he wanted to upgrade his soul ring from 100,000 year to 9999 year. According to the rules, he would need 1 billion experience points to break through to a million-year soul ring. In other words, 10 billion experience points would allow Lin Feng to obtain a million-year divine soul ring. According to Lin Feng's average speed of gaining experience, it would take him about 5 years. Instead of increasing his soul power, he planned to quietly develop for 5 years and directly attain the strength of a god. This seemed to be a good choice. The first two weren't bad either. They could hunt soul beasts and obtain soul rings and soul bones. With his current strength, he wouldn't be afraid to face 300,000-year soul beasts at once. If he had the chance, he could still kill a single 100,000-year soul beast. Taking into account the time spent searching for soul beasts, he estimated that he would be able to obtain all of his soul rings and soul bones within 3 years. However, he wouldn't be able to continue earning experience points in Heaven-Do City during this period of time. Even though fighting soul beasts would give him quite a bit of experience points, it was still far too little compared to what he could earn from fighting soul masters. At the same time, there was something else that Lin Feng was very conflicted about. These 100,000-year soul beasts were actually pretty good experience babies. It would be a pity if he killed them, but raising them would still give him quite a bit of experience points. If he didn't kill the 100,000-year soul beasts and went to kill the 80 to 90,000-year soul beasts, he would have to waste his experience points to level up. Furthermore, these 80 to 90,000-year soul beasts were actually harder to find than the 100,000-year soul beasts. They wouldn't come out when provoked and would instead hide. If he killed these soul beasts, he would need even more time. Furthermore, Lin Feng only had 8 soul ring slots and 4 soul bone slots. Including the external soul bone, he had at most 5 soul ring slots. With such a small space, it would be very difficult if he encountered a more suitable soul beast in the future, but didn't have a slot. After thinking about it, Lin Feng decided to bide his time. In any case, the current situation was still considered stable. In the future, he would compromise. He would save the experience points first. He wouldn't spend time hunting soul beasts for now. If there were more suitable ones in the future, he would kill them. For now, earning experience points was the most important. In any case, there was still a long time. After returning to the Shrek Academy, Lin Feng went back to sleep and didn't speak for the entire night. Just like that, time flew by. In the blink of an eye, 5 months had passed. During these 5 months, everything was very peaceful. There were no big movements in the Imperial Palace, the Martial Soul Hall, or Heaven-Do City. Of course, there weren't any big movements, but there were constant small movements. The Shrek Academy had undergone earth-shattering changes. Ever since the Auckland family took the lead to express goodwill to the Shrek Academy 3 months ago and nothing happened, there would be a large number of families coming to the Academy every day to express their goodwill. Some sponsored, some sent gifts, and one after another, they only stopped after a month. During this time, Flanders's face was like a blooming flower. He received so many gifts that his hands went limp. He was counting money to the point of cramping. The Shrek Academy was at the height of its power. Douluo had become a permanent resident of the Academy, and with Thanos' hidden bonuses, the Academy was practically invincible. Ning Fengji had even brought Dusty Heart to pay a formal visit to the Shrek Academy. Yu Yuanjin, the head of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan, and the rank 96 assault-type title Douluo had even brought Yu Yuansheng to apologize to the Academy. Not only that, but the Imperial Palace had also been expressing goodwill over the past few months. Their relationship was no longer as tense as before. Come to think of it, What truly shocked these major powers was the revelation of Douluo's strength. Rank 95 title Douluo had risen 4 ranks in a row, and he had even reached the peak of rank 95. As long as he could comprehend the right things, he would be able to reach rank 96 immediately. This was mainly due to the effect of that drop of immortal herb essence. 4.5 months ago, Lin Feng had given Douluo that drop of immortal herb essence. After that, Douluo went into seclusion for half a month. When he came out, he was already at the peak of rank 95. Because his soul power was still fluctuating at the time, Taya, who happened to be nearby, discovered it. He then told the Snowy Night Emperor, who then told Ning Fengji. After that, Yu Yuanjin also found out. After that, Shrek Academy, which was at its peak, was established. Ning Fengji and the others all came to ask Douluo about this increase in strength. However, Douluo didn't say anything. These people all wanted to see Thanos, but he directly rejected them. Compared to the prosperity of the Shrek Academy, Tang San and the rest of the Shrek 7 monsters were all focused on cultivation. Because the sports field and the teaching building were bustling with people every day, Tang San and the others opened up an empty space in the center of the forest. They built a meditation room here and a research lab not far away. They even built a small cafeteria, dormitory, and so on. This place was like a small academy, the kind that could be self-sufficient. Tang San and the others, as well as the great master, usually lived here. It felt very quiet and formed a stark contrast to the noisy sports field. Some of the training and whatnot were also carried out in this forest. During this period, Lu Erlong and the others often came over to enjoy the tranquility. Chapter 299. After 5 months of hard work, the 7 of them had made great progress in their strength. Tang San was now at rank 48, and he was increasing by 1 rank every month. He would probably become a Soul King soon after the tournament began. Xiao was a little weaker. She was now at rank 46, and she had only increased by 3 ranks in 5 months. She should be able to become a Soul King before the finals. Dai Mubai had just become a Soul King a few days ago, and he was preparing to go to the Setting Sun Forest to hunt a 10,000-year soul beast with Flanders tomorrow. Oh right, Flanders had become a Soul Douluo a month ago. He had obtained a decent soul ring with Douluo. It was over 50,000 years old, and it was very suitable for him. The day he obtained the soul ring was very lively. All the powers in Hevendo City sent people to congratulate him. Flanders had never been so glorious in his life, and his old face was smiling the entire day. Oscar was about the same as Xiao Wu. He had also increased by 3 ranks in 5 months, and was now at rank 45. However, he should be able to reach rank 46 soon. Ning Rongrong, Ma Hongjun, and Zhu Zhuqing didn't need to be mentioned. The 3 of them were all soul ancestors, respectively at the rank of 42, 43, and 43. The 3 of them obtained their soul rings together, and Lin Feng personally brought them to the Setting Sun Forest. During this time, Ning Rongrong even boasted that she wanted to absorb a 10,000-year soul ring. In the end, she managed to absorb a 6,000-year soul ring, but she barely managed to do so. After all, as an auxiliary-type soul master, her weak body was a weakness. Ma Hongjun and Zhu Zhuqing were slightly better. Both of them had 7,000-year soul rings, and with the support of their soul bones, they could easily challenge soul kings. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that if Tang San and the rest were to fight together, even soul sages wouldn't be their match unless they used their martial soul true bodies. With this kind of strength, they would be able to win the championship in the Continental Elite Academy Tournament. This thought had actually persisted for a few months. However, 4 months ago, Zhu Zhuqing, who had just returned from the Soul Battle Arena, found out about the Avengers. This was a group of soul cultivators that they had seen in Soto City. The Grandmaster reckoned that the other party wasn't very old, and they were the type of people that Soul Exalts fear the most. Every time they met, they would be beaten up. That feeling left a deep impression on them. Now that they found out that the other party had come to Hevendo City, how could they do anything? Tang San and the others immediately rushed to the Great Soul Arena, and then found that everyone in the Avengers Alliance was wearing a Sapphire-level Soul fighting badge. Furthermore, they would occasionally challenge Soul Kings who were stronger than them, and they would even win. This greatly aroused their fighting spirit, and then they began their solo journey in the Great Soul Arena. The Master judged that these people should be a little older than Tang San and the others, but not much older. The last time they saw them, they were all rank 38 Soul Exalts. Now they were all rank 43, Tang San and the others realized. These 7 people from the Avengers Alliance might be the strongest opponents they will encounter in the competition in the future. In the past 4 months, they had been crazy and had won all the way, trying to catch up with those people. However, the speed of the 7 people from the Avengers Alliance was obviously faster, and during this period, they had been leaving Tang San and the others behind, especially their soul power level. Now all of them were rank 47. This speed of 1 level per month not only shocked Tang San, but also the entire audience in Heaven Do City. The 7 people from the Avengers Alliance had never been defeated since they came to Heaven Do City's Great Soul Arena. Now, it would take several days for them to even be matched with a battle, because there were too few people who could be matched with them. Generally, they would challenge those of a higher rank. On this day, in the center of the Shrek Academy Forest, Ma Hongjun ran back with a surprised look on his face. Damn, this Avengers Alliance is really awesome. Now, they're a Ruby team, and they're only 1 level away from the highest Diamond level. Dai Mubai was stabilizing his strength, but at this moment, after hearing Ma Hongjun's words, he opened his eyes and asked, "They have a match today?" The others also gathered around with curious looks on their faces. At this moment, the 7 of them were most concerned about their own strength and the Avengers Alliance. Yes, Thunder God Sol is a match. His opponent is a rank 57 defense type Soul King, and his martial soul is a white tortoise. I know this martial soul. It's very strong. Although it's not a ranked martial soul, it's still a high-grade martial soul. Xiao Wu showed off her knowledge. Ma Hongjun ignored her and continued, "You guys didn't see it, but Saul's body was covered in lightning, and he smashed that guy's tortoise shell with his hammer. After that, he won this match and directly became a Ruby Warrior Soul. This way, the Avengers Alliance will become a Ruby team. A Ruby Soul Ancestor level team. That's terrifying." Ning Rongrong clicked her tongue. The higher the rank of a Soul Master, the higher the rank of his emblem would be according to the matching mechanism. However, the Avengers Alliance was only a Soul Ancestor team, but they had the fighting strength of a Soul King. This was why they were able to achieve such dazzling results. Saul is already a Ruby. I believe the others will be promoted soon. This way, we won't be able to match up to them. Tang San and the others were only at the purple gold rank, even if they tried their best to catch up. There was still some distance away from the Sapphire rank. In fact, Tang San originally had the chance to match up to them. However, because the Grandmaster asked him to research soul tools together, Tang San didn't have time to do a soul duel. Yes, these 2 fellows were really into soul tools now. In the past 5 months, they had researched many strange things. Everything else wasn't worth mentioning. What made Lin Feng the most surprised was that the Grandmaster had actually researched a soul tool that could test one's martial soul fusion value. As long as the 2 of them wore a device and released a martial soul fusion skill, the soul tool would display a number. As long as the number exceeded 2, the martial soul fusion skill would be considered a success. Even though Lin Feng had helped a lot in the creation of this soul tool, and even the soul power patterns on the soul tool had been imprinted by him, Lin Feng was still in awe of Grandmaster's thought process. With this thing, Ning Rongrong and the others were very interested in practicing their martial soul fusion skills. This was because as the number of times they practiced increased, they could clearly see their own improvement. That sense of accomplishment motivated each of them. The Grandmaster said that he wanted to make a soul beast strength detector next. At this moment, Tang San was helping with this thing. However, this thing couldn't be made just by thinking about it. The Grandmaster had another idea, a Soul Master's strength detector. These two things were extremely complicated soul tool products. Lin Feng didn't think that the Grandmaster could make it in a short time. Lin Feng knew how difficult it was, so he felt that he couldn't make it. However, Ning Rongrong and the others didn't think so. They only felt that if the Grandmaster could make a martial soul fusion value detector, he would definitely be able to make a soul master strength detector. In any case, they were brainlessly supporting him. This made the Grandmaster very happy. Chapter 300. Compared to the great changes in the Shrek Academy, Lin Feng's life in the past 5 months was very ordinary. He only fought titled Douluo, sometimes ran to the Soul Beast Forest to find trouble, and often practiced his multitasking ability in the Soul Arena. As for the titled Douluo, under Xue Qing's operation, a titled Douluo from the Martial Spirit Palace would come over to be beaten up every 20 days. Not only the titled Douluo from the Martial Spirit City, but he would also transfer people from other cities, but these people were weaker. However, after half a year of operation, Bibi Dong seemed to have found something, and the people from the Martial Spirit City no longer came over. Only some elders who were out on missions would be tricked and then beaten up. In fact, Lin Feng wanted to raise these people, but after thinking about it, he gave up. Being afraid of being besieged by the Martial Spirit Palace was part of the reason, but the main reason was that he didn't have time to watch these people. In the past few months, he mainly practiced his multitasking ability in the Soul Arena, and other than that, he wandered in the various forests. Although there were only 7 Avengers on the surface, in fact, Lin Feng also opened more than 10 aliases. The main reason was that it was too difficult to match his 7 aliases, and sometimes he couldn't find anyone for a week. During this period, he would use other aliases to practice. The current Lin Feng could already do 10 things at once, and was extremely powerful. As for why he went to the various forests, the main reason was to see if there were any suitable 100,000-year soul beasts to hunt. The 1000G ruler was different from the immeasurable flower. The immeasurable flower was all-inclusive, so Lin Feng could hunt any soul beast he wanted. On the other hand, the 1000 trickery ruler was specifically used to kill enemies. The soul rings attached to it were also the more ferocious ones. In addition, in terms of age, it would be best if it was a 100,000-year soul beast. Otherwise, if he chose a 90,000-year soul beast, he would lose tens of millions of experience points. Under these conditions, coupled with the fact that Lin Feng didn't spend too much time searching, he didn't find a single suitable candidate in the last 5 months. However, he didn't waste any time. After provoking the 100,000-year soul beasts in the forest, he fought a few battles and gained quite a bit of experience. Currently, Lin Feng had already accumulated more than 500 million experience points. Although it was a little less than what he had estimated, it was not a big difference. Oh yes, during this period, Thanos' reputation and hobbies had spread. No one knew exactly how powerful a super expert was, but it was at least rank 96. He liked to fight with others, even his own people. Moreover, he was very arrogant. Of course, Thanos had never said this in public. It was just a rumor that others had spread based on Thanos' situation. Some of the more ridiculous rumors said that Thanos had to fight every day and that he would feel uncomfortable if he didn't fight for a day. It was also said that Thanos' martial soul was special. If he didn't fight, his strength would regress. These rumors were spread one by one, and the keyboard warriors who heard them called them experts. Lin Feng heard these things from Tang San and the others. The 7 of them were more concerned about Thanos than Lin Feng himself. Speaking of which, Lin Feng felt that he could still make use of this rumor. With his arrogant personality, he could find people all over the continent to challenge. With his reputation, he could then say that he wanted to challenge all the soul masters on the continent. Under such circumstances, there shouldn't be any big problems. As long as he didn't kill anyone, it should be fine. Of course, the time wasn't ripe yet, and some things hadn't spread yet. Thanos' reputation was mainly in Heavendo City. Not to mention the Star Luo Empire, there were still many places in Heavendo City that hadn't heard of his name. After all, this was an ancient society, and there were no telephones or anything like that. Messages were transmitted from person to person. Let's wait for a while. Coincidentally, the Continental Academy Elite Tournament was about to begin. At that time, people from all the academies would gather together, especially in Martial Spirit City, where there would be dozens of academies from the two empires. That would be the best time for news to spread. After all, those who could participate in the finals in Martial Spirit City were all from the stronger Soul Master academies. And these students generally didn't have simple backgrounds. They usually had families with soul sages backing them. Soul Douluo's family definitely wasn't a small number. Some of them might even have titled Douluo backing them. Anyway, some of the students, there should be people from the top forces on the continent. When Lin Feng said that he wanted to challenge all the soul masters on the continent, the news would definitely spread quickly. At that time, Lin Feng would walk around the continent a few times and experience would quickly come in. He wouldn't just grab a place to harvest wool. If he harvested wool from the entire continent, he would probably become a god in a few years. Originally, Lin Feng's idea was to capture a group of titled Douluo and make them his experience babies. That would be troublesome and unstable, and it might even cause the three great experts to besiege him. But now his idea was to harvest wool from the entire continent. Not only would the path be wider, but there would also be no risk. He could run around everywhere, and no one could catch him. Overall, this plan was simply wonderful. Lin Feng was a little impressed with himself for coming up with such an idea. It seemed that Thor's clone had a lot of fun hammering the turtle shell in the soul dueling arena today. With a happy mood, Lin Feng returned to the academy. Feng Ge, that thunder god, Thor already has a ruby soul fighting badge. Do you think that the Avengers will also participate in the Soul Master Academy competition? As soon as he approached, Xiao Wu leaned forward and asked, "What's wrong? Are you scared?" Lin Feng laughed. At this time, Tang San's team of 7 no longer took this competition seriously. On the surface, they were a team that was comparable to Soul Kings. If they participated in this competition, they would be bullying others. In their eyes, there was only the Avengers. If this team participated in the competition, they would be their greatest enemy. Why would we be scared? We're just curious. Ma Hongjun was the first to speak. Dai Mubai said, "Master has analyzed it with us. These 7 people's soul power ranks are the same, and their cooperation is very good. Maybe their strength is not as simple as it seems. They should also know martial soul fusion skills like us." Martial soul fusion skills were a skill that the 7 of them had been practicing hard recently, and it was their ultimate killing move. When 2 of them fused, they could easily beat up an ordinary Soul King. When the 7 of them formed a team and cooperated well, they could defeat Zhao Wuji, who had activated his martial soul true body. One had to know that Zhao Wuji's defensive power was extremely strong. Previously, he could withstand the attacks of more than 10 soul sages for several seconds. Although he was seriously injured in the end, it was enough to see how terrifying his defensive power was. Chapter 301. Right, the Master also proposed a concept before, saying that the 7 of them could imitate the army's combined soul skill and see if they could use a 7-person combined soul skill. After all, the 7 of them now had very strong soul power control. If they could use it, the power would definitely be very terrifying. In this way, if they really faced the 7 people of the Avengers, they would have one more trump card. They can use martial soul fusion skills, so can we. Who's afraid of who? Ma Hongjun was very confident. What if they're all Soul Kings? Dai Mubai said, "Aren't they only rank 47? Why are they all Soul Kings?" Ma Hongjun muttered, "Stupid." Ning Rongrong laughed and said, "Fatty, don't tell me you still don't know why we are afraid of the Avengers. Isn't it just a martial soul fusion skill?" Ma Hongjun scratched his head. When a master analyzed it, he said that this martial soul fusion skill and that the strength of the 7 of them had improved very quickly. Over the years, this kind of competition usually lasts for about a year. They are rank 47 now. Won't they all be Soul Kings in a year? Now that their soul ancestors can defeat Soul Kings, what about when they are all Soul Kings? They can probably challenge Soul Emperors. At that time, our strength will also increase. Third brother, Xiao Wu, Boss Dai, and Oscar should all be able to reach the Soul King level. Ma Hongjun was somewhat disapproving. And if they can challenge people of a higher rank, so can we. To be honest, Ma Hongjuan's mentality was a little inflated, mainly because he had been winning continuously in the Great Soul Arena these days. Although he had just entered the Soul Ancestor realm, he could even beat a powerful rank 49 Soul Ancestor, which made him a little arrogant. The others more or less had the same problem, but while they were proud, they could recognize the strength of others and remain vigilant. As for Ma Hongjun, his vigilance seemed to have disappeared. You're right, but when the competition starts, our soul power will definitely fall behind. Ning Rongrong said. Me, take Shi, and you, the three of us, can become soul kings in a year? I think you're overthinking it. In the past 5 months, the reason why their strength had increased so rapidly was mainly because the residual medicinal power in their bodies had been quickly digested under the effect of the meditation room. Now, this effect had already begun to disappear, and at most 2 or 3 months, their cultivation speed would drop to normal. Although this normal level was much stronger than before they had eaten the celestial medicine, they wouldn't have this kind of rocket-like speed now. The medicinal power in our bodies is about to be fully digested. Additionally, the stronger we are, the longer it will take to cultivate. This rate of increasing 1 level per month will no longer exist in the future. Dai Mubai was well aware of the current situation. Soul power level is nothing. The Avengers' combined strength should be about the same as yours. You guys should improve yourselves. Even if you meet them, you might not necessarily lose. Lin Feng smiled. That's right. You won't necessarily lose even if you meet him. At this time, the door of the research room opened and the master walked out with a smile. Behind him, Tang San was also overjoyed. Did something good happen? Lin Feng asked curiously. Nothing. I just figured out the principle of the soul tool just now. The master was still smiling. It seemed that this principle should be more important. Otherwise, the two wouldn't be so happy. I have estimated the strength of the Avengers. They should be about the same as yours. They should be a hidden team from a certain academy. No one knows their identity now. The master continued, your strength is also very strong. After cultivating for so long, the Great Soul Arena has also given you a lot of practical experience. Now, there's only less than a month before the official start of the competition. Some academies far away have even come to Heaven Dose City in advance. It's time for the few of you to undergo the final training. The improvement in their strength was very obvious. The master had planned it long ago. Finally, they would integrate their strength through a comprehensive training. Final training? What is it like? Everyone was curious. It's very simple. The 7 of you will live in the setting sun forest for half a month. You can't stay in the periphery. You have to go deeper and go to the central area. In this half a month, you won't have any support, so we won't care about you. After half a month, you will come out by yourselves. Then the training will be completed. After hearing the master's words, except for Lin Feng, the other 7 people were surprised. At this time, the master continued, training is still training. No matter how much training, it will never be comparable to actual combat. You have fought countless battles in the Great Soul Arena in the past few months, so I don't have to worry about your experience. Going to the setting sun forest is the best way to improve. In the central area, you will face 10,000-year soul beasts from time to time. In addition, you may encounter other soul masters. Among these soul masters, there may be good ones, and there may also be bad ones. Among them, there are even assassins who specialize in hunting other soul masters for money. You need to experience these things personally. We won't watch you from the side. Life and death are in your own hands, the master said with a solemn face. In fact, how could he really leave them alone? They would definitely secretly monitor them. Lin Feng knew about this matter long ago because the master had gone to find Douluo and asked him to secretly watch this group of children. After all, Tang San and the others' observation skills were too strong, and Zhao Wuji and the others couldn't secretly protect them. Flanders could go unnoticed, but he couldn't leave at all. As the dean of Shrek Academy, many people paid attention to him, and if they wanted to ask Douluo to help, they naturally had to ask Lin Feng for help. At that time, Lin Feng expressed his approval of this proposal. Now that the master said it, Lin Feng also said didn't you guys say that you want to experience life after graduation? This is a very good opportunity. Anything can happen in the forest. There are no teachers, no plans, just the 7 of you. You can rely on each other and survive for half a month. Hearing Lin Feng and the master's words, the 7 people looked at each other and saw the fighting spirit in each other's eyes. There was no fear at all. Originally, the dean was going to take Mu Bai to hunt for soul rings tomorrow, but there's no need for that now. Tonight, you will enter the forest. There are only 2 goals. First, survive for 15 days. Second, work together to help Mu Bai hunt a suitable 10,000-year soul beast for him. Lin Feng asked loudly, "How about it? Are you guys confident?" "Yes." Everyone answered in unison. "Very good. Now, all of you have half a day to prepare. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you will set off on your own. Once you leave the Shrek Academy's gate, we won't care about you anymore." The master said, "Half a month later, I will wait for you at the Academy's gate. I hope that all of you can come back alive." Chapter 302. To survive in the middle of the sunset forest for 15 days was a big challenge, even for soul emperors. At this time, Tang San and the others were only 14 years old on average, and they were only soul ancestors. This was an impossible task for others, but Tang San and the others were geniuses, and geniuses were different from the rest. After hearing this challenge, the 7 of them were full of confidence, without the slightest timidity. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the group set off. No one saw them off. Tang San and the others didn't even walk out of the academy gate because this challenge was carried out secretly and they didn't want to attract the attention of others. Not long after they left in the academy, the master cupped his hands towards Douluo and said, "I'll leave the children to you." Douluo had been a consultant at the academy for several months, and at this time, he was no longer unfamiliar with the master and the others. "Don't worry, I promise they will all come back alive." Douluo smiled and quickly chased after them. After all, he was a rank 95 title Douluo. Douluo was very strong, and he was confident in guaranteeing the safety of the children. Tang San and the others survived in the sunset forest for 15 days, which was quite interesting. After a few days, when they officially arrived in the middle of the forest, Lin Feng would go over. After all, how could he not witness such an interesting scene? Lin Feng chased after him. He might even be able to watch a reality show. Or he could play role-playing games by himself and tease Tang San and the others, which would definitely be very interesting. There were very few entertainment devices in Douluo's world, and Lin Feng couldn't always be stupid to improve his strength. That would be boring, so he had to entertain himself. When he played cards with himself, it was the embodiment of extreme boredom. Now he felt that he could directly put on a big show in front of Tang San and the others. Thinking of Tang San and the others being played in the palm of his hand, Lin Feng was very interested. With this idea in mind, Lin Feng lay on the bed and had a good sleep. After spending most of the day in the Great Soul Arena today, he was still very tired mentally, so he quickly went to sleep to replenish his energy. The next morning, Xue Qinghe and Lin Feng sat across from each other in a private room of the tea house at the entrance of the academy. Today doesn't seem to be the appointed time yet. Did something happen? Lin Feng took a sip of tea and asked. There are surprises. Perhaps the next one will come later than before, but I've brought you a surprise. Xue Qinghe said with a smile. What surprise? Lin Feng raised his eyebrows. Lin Feng just came up and sensed the tea house. Everything was ordinary. There was nothing special. The surprise will be here soon. Xue Qinghe stood up and walked to the door of the room. He then waved his hand outside. Soon, a boy about 4 meters tall, about 12 or 13 years old, walked in. He looked very delicate and pretty, and his face was a little rosy. His eyes were filled with surprise. Lin Feng had seen this person before when he came in. He seemed to be sitting in a hall drinking tea. Lin Feng only gave him a cursory glance and didn't pay much attention to him. Now that he took a closer look, this little boy... No, it was a little girl. This guy was actually a girl dressed as a boy. At this age, she was still dressed as a boy and followed Xue Qinghe around. Could it be? As if to confirm Lin Feng's guess, Xue Qinghe smiled and said, This is my royal sister, Xue Ku, whom I've been introducing to you. Little sister, Say hello to your brother Fengge. Hello, brother Fengge. Shueike lowered her head slightly and greeted him. Lin Feng was speechless. In his heart, he thought, damn it. 5 months. A whole 5 months. Every time he met with Xue Qinghe, this guy would recommend his royal sister to Lin Feng. At first, he would only talk about how good his royal sister was. Then, he would bring over some of Shueike's paintings and poems. To this, Lin Feng's clear rejection was useless, but Xue Qinghe still brought him along. This time, he actually brought Shueike out of the palace. This operation really made Lin Feng feel a little flustered. You're the crown prince. Although it's fake, this really makes me speechless. It's inconvenient for me to go out, so I'm dressed as a boy. Please wait a moment. As he spoke, Xue Qinghe started to move on Shueike's body. Not long after, a petite and pretty loli appeared in front of Lin Feng. Shueike lifted the edge of her little skirt and bowed in a standard aristocratic manner. Hello, brother Fengge. How is it? Xue Qinghe asked with a smile when he saw Lin Feng in a daze. At the same time, he thought to himself, let's see if you're tempted by bringing the princess here. Lin Feng didn't answer. Instead, he came to Shueike's side and patted her head. Little kids should behave like little kids. It's not right to sneak out. Go back and study. Xue Qinghe was speechless. He had thought that Lin Feng would say that he didn't like her or ask questions. However, he didn't expect him to say something like this. If Xue Qinghe knew Guiyongyu, he would probably shout, snatch the bamboo shoots. This guy is snatching the bamboo shoots. I don't have lessons today. Brother Emperor brought me out to play, Shueike said. Her big eyes looked at Lin Feng with slight admiration. She was a princess, not a prince. She wouldn't teach them a lot of things from a young age. She would usually be taught more loosely. Therefore, Shueike wasn't as mature as the average person. She even had a trace of childishness. However, she was quite smart and had a strong learning ability. Lin Feng had thought that she was about 14 years old when he saw some of her drawings and poems. He didn't expect her to look like she was only about 12 years old. If your brother Emperor sold you, would you help him count the money? Lin Feng asked with a smile. As he spoke, he was still observing Xue Qinghe to see what he would say. Why will my brother Emperor sell me? Brother Emperor treats me very well. He told me a lot about brother Fengge. You're the #1 genius in Heavendo City. I was the one who asked brother Emperor to bring me out today. No wonder this little girl looked at him with eyes full of admiration. After hearing this, Lin Feng suddenly understood. Xue Qinghe was indeed an old spy. He must have been a great con man. He had fooled Shueike for a whole 5 months. Although he didn't know the exact process, Lin Feng had a rough idea. Xue Qinghe must have mentioned Lin Feng in front of Shueike. Then, he would talk about Lin Feng's glorious deeds. Shueike was young and naive. Because of the protection of the royal family, she didn't know much about the outside world. Lin Feng's stories easily attracted her admiration. In this way, Xue Qinghe could easily lead Shueike to think that everything was her own idea. Little did she know that she was being led by the nose by Xue Qinghe. As the saying went, even if you were sold, you still helped count the money. It was probably referring to Shueike's situation. What was interesting was that Shueike didn't know anything. Chapter 303. Xue Qinghe finally understood Lin Feng's thoughts. He just felt that Shueike was interesting and didn't have any other thoughts. Is there anything else? If not, I'll be leaving first. Lin Feng said with a smile. This Xue Qinghe could always come up with new tricks for him. It was actually quite interesting. Xue Qinghe sighed in his heart and shook his head. No. At this moment, Shueike asked, Isn't brother Fengge going to play with us? Your brother Fengge is a busy man. Let's not disturb him. With that, Xue Qinghe skillfully put on men's clothes for Shueike. Lin Feng touched his nose and felt that Xue Qinghe's tone was strange. He actually wanted Shueike to play the cute card. However, Lin Feng was not moved at all and turned to leave. Suddenly, he said, Oh right, if it's difficult, the time could be pushed back a little. Lin Feng was preparing to watch Tang San's reality show in the coming days. He might even take part in it. He wouldn't have the time to care about fighting. How about half a month later? Xue Qinghe asked tentatively. Sure. After nodding, Lin Feng left the tea house. Shueika raised her head and asked, "Brother, what are we doing half a month later? Are you bringing me to see Brother Fenggu again?" "That depends on whether your Brother Fenggu is free." Shueqing aside and left the tea house with Shueiko. At this time, Tang San and the others should have just arrived at the setting sun forest. It was estimated that they would officially arrive at the middle section of the forest tomorrow. Lin Feng wasn't in a hurry today and spent the day in the Fighting Soul Arena, as usual. After a good night's sleep, he set off for the setting sun forest at noon the next day. Lin Feng was very familiar with the setting sun forest. It was like returning to his home here. The soul beasts inside were all talented beasts and spoke well. It seemed like they usually didn't speak. It didn't matter if they didn't talk. In any case, Lin Feng really liked this place. With his familiarity with the forest, it would take him at most half a day to find Tang San and the others. While Lin Feng was rushing towards the setting sun forest, Tang San's group had just left the outer region and entered the middle region. In this place, 1,000-year soul beasts could be seen everywhere, and even 10,000-year soul beasts could be seen. The 7 of them were very careful as they slowly advanced. It was noon, and everyone was a little hungry. Tang San found a cave, and everyone went in to rest. During the meal, everyone was busy discussing what they were going to do next. "Boss Dai, what kind of soul beast are you planning to hunt for your 5th soul ring?" Oscar asked. "It's definitely going to be useful to the team. It's best if it's a defense-type soul beast. That way, even if we face the Avengers, I'll be able to resist them for a while." Dai Mubai laughed. Currently, their team had enough offensive capabilities. Dai Mubai, Xiao Wu, Zhu Zhuqing, and Ma Hongjun were the 4 core positions. As for the remaining 3, 2 were auxiliary and 1 was control type. This kind of team composition was actually very good. It was a combination with extremely strong offensive capabilities. With the help of the 2 auxiliary-type soul masters, the 4 of them would directly attack. Tang San would be in the middle to control the field and could completely end the battle as fast as lightning. But at the same time, this lineup had a fatal flaw, and that was that their defensive capabilities were actually not strong. There was a saying that the strongest offense was the best defense. When I attacked, you could only resist. This was the advantage of Tang San's lineup. Furthermore, because of Oscar, they were also very strong in terms of endurance. However, when they faced the 7 people from the Avengers, this lineup had a flaw. This was because the 7 of them had stronger offensive capabilities. Other than Spider-Man Parker, who was a control type like Tang San, the other 6 were all agility type or assault type soul masters. They were extremely powerful. Furthermore, Hawkeye Barton had terrifying long-range attack capabilities. Oscar's flying mushroom intestine was equivalent to being useless. Otherwise, he would be a live target in the sky. Under such circumstances, everyone could only fight on the ground. Dai Mubai needed a strong defensive soul skill to be able to resist the attacks of the Avengers. "Do you want to be like Captain 50-50? Tang Sen asked. In the Avengers, Steve, whose codename was Captain 50-50, had a circular shield as his martial soul. Although he was an assault-type soul master, Tang San had seen his battles. On the surface, he looked very strong, but his defensive capabilities were definitely stronger. Dai Mubai nodded. "I think the core figures of the Avengers should be Captain 50-50 and Thunder God. My 5th soul skill has to be able to block the 2 of them. It's as I thought. These 2 people should be the core, and they're the strongest." Tang Sen expressed his affirmation of Dai Mubai's judgment. Thunder God's strength was undeniable. Almost every battle was a crushing defeat. It was obvious to all. His popularity was the highest among the 7 people of the Avengers. As for the 2nd place, it was the Hulk, who had the most dazzling battle scenes. This guy's martial soul was the Berserk Giant Bear. After releasing his soul skill, his entire body was 3 to 4 meters tall. When he fought, he was simply a human-shaped bulldozer. Opponents who fought against his martial soul were always hammered like toys. Therefore, generally speaking, outsiders would think that these 2 people were the strongest. At this moment, The 50-50 captain that Dai Mubai mentioned was the weakest in the eyes of outsiders. He was also the last in popularity. Not many people thought that he was strong. Every time he fought, it would take a long time. Ning Rongrong was puzzled. Aren't Thunder God and Hulk the most powerful? Both of their attacks are so strong. Ma Hongjun also nodded. Yes, I think so too. Captain 50-50 is too weak. I saw him fight against the Soul Ancestor for half an hour last time. Tang San explained. Didn't you guys notice? Captain 50-50's battle time has been decreasing. Although I only paid attention to the first few months, I remember very clearly that his actual combat experience improved very quickly. There were even battles where he killed his opponents in an instant. Dai Mubai also said, his speed of improvement is very terrifying, far beyond your imagination. Is that so? Ma Hongjun was slightly embarrassed. After he felt that this Steve was not strong, he did not pay much attention to him. In addition, Heavendo City ranked the 7 people of the Avengers. Steve, who was ranked last, gave Ma Hongjun a lot of hints in his heart. Even when he saw him fight later, he did not pay attention to these details. After all, the first impression was there. Unless the subsequent impressions were very deep, it was very difficult to change it. Ning Rongrong was in a similar situation. Everyone was subconsciously ignoring Steve. Chapter 304. Don't underestimate everyone. If we really meet the Avengers in the future, we must pay attention to these two, Tang San said seriously. Underestimating the enemy was a taboo at any time. Yes, everyone nodded in agreement. After that, Tang San said, Boss Dai's White Tiger Martial Soul can hunt many types of soul beasts if you want to use defensive-type soul skills. As long as it's a beast-type soul beast with a relatively strong defense, you can hunt it. Fonga told me before that it's best to find a 15,000-year soul beast. That's more suitable for Boss Dai. Defense-type soul beasts were easy to find, but it wasn't easy to find one of the right age. Furthermore, there were strong and weak defense-type soul beasts. If they could choose, they would definitely find the best one. At this moment, Tang San took out a map of the setting sun forest from his soul tool. This was given to him by Tai Tan in the afternoon 2 days ago. It was drawn by the Strength Clan, so it should be quite accurate. According to the map, we'll walk for about half a day to the left and go around a dangerous area. There should be suitable soul beasts there. The Strength Clan usually hunted power-type soul beasts, so they had some understanding of the distribution of soul beasts. However, this map wasn't updated every year, so there should be some discrepancies. Tang San and the rest had to be careful. Today, we'll walk to the left. When we reach the area marked on the map, I'll rest for a night. We'll go on a hunt the next day. Everyone didn't object to Tang San's decision. They quickly finished eating and walked to the left. At the same time, Lin Feng also arrived at the setting sun forest. He brought Xiao Ying and started their journey to find Tang San and the rest. The setting sun forest was very large, and Tang San and the rest were very small. Even if they knew that they were in the middle section, it would still take some time to find them. The main reason was that the forest was too dense. Lin Feng couldn't see them from the sky, so he could only search on the ground. Otherwise, he would find them very quickly. More than 2 hours later, Tang San and his group had already covered half of the distance. It was estimated that they would reach the vicinity in another 2 hours. Suddenly, Zhu Zhuqing shouted, "There's a pack of storm wolves in the northeast. There are less than 15 of them, and the Wolf King is less than 10,000 years old. They're less than 100 meters away. Their target is us." Although Zhu Zhuqing and the others weren't as capable as Tang San and Lin Feng to determine the exact age of Soul Beast, they still had a rough idea of the situation. "Drive them away," Tang San shouted. It was best not to kill in the forest. As Tang San's voice fell, Dai Mubai rushed to the front, followed by Xiao Wu and Tang San. The three of them directly faced the ferocious wolf pack. It was just a pack of storm wolves less than 10,000 years old. Tang San easily trapped them with his blue-silver grass, while Xiao Wu sent one flying with a kick. Dai Mubai was much more valiant. He used his fists to smash the wolves, knocking them unconscious. Just like that, The group quickly drove the pack of wolves away. It feels like there's not much danger in the setting sun forest. After walking for so long, we can easily drive away the soul beasts we encounter. Ma Hongjun, who had also sent 2 wolves flying with a kick, said with a relaxed expression. From a moment they entered the forest until now, they hadn't felt any danger. Although Ma Hongjun's words were a little arrogant, it was the truth. Don't let your guard down. There's still more than 10 days. Danger can come at any time. Don't tell me you've forgotten what happened in the Star Do Great Forest? Tang since said unhappily. That time in the Star Do Great Forest, they had encountered the overlord of the forest, the Titan giant ape, in the outskirts of the middle section. That memory was still fresh in their minds. Although Tang Sin now knew that it was a soul beast called Erming, it was still here for Xiao Wu. But the others didn't know, so it was still useful to use it as a warning. Sure enough, after Ma Hongjun heard this, he immediately shrunk his neck. I'm still very vigilant. After a pause, he suddenly asked, Third brother, do you think this training is real? What's real? Tang San was stunned. It's what Master and Fonga said. No one will care about us. The 7 of us will face everything by ourselves in the forest. Will there be someone secretly protecting us? For example, Poison Douluo or Mr. Destroy? Ma Hongjun said. This, I'm not sure. Tang San thought for a while and said. Actually, when they first set out, they had thought about this question, but they didn't think too much about it. This was the first time it was brought up. When I ran away from home by myself last time, I thought that no one knew my whereabouts. In fact, my father always sent people to protect me. Ning Rong said. If that's the case, I think it's very likely that we're being protected. Ma Hongjun's face was full of certainty. As soon as he said this, Douluo raised his eyebrows in a tree more than 100 meters away. He hadn't seen it before, but this Ma Hongjun was quite smart. He could even guess this. His little brain was quite flexible. If Lin Feng knew what Douluo was thinking, he would probably be ridiculing him. Wasn't this a very normal guess? Being protected or not being protected? Choosing one out of the two, was guessing correctly called being smart? If this was considered smart, then Douluo's IQ might not be high. However, Lin Feng could also understand. The people in Douluo's world were too naive and had too little experience. In Lin Feng's opinion, Xue Qinghe was the only smart person. Even a master could be considered a smart person. At least in terms of learning, he was still a smart person. As for Tang San, he was much better than the average person. However, Lin Feng didn't think that he was that smart. In any case, he was a simple-minded person who would do whatever he was told to do. Who cares if he has protection or not? It has nothing to do with us. If he has protection, do you want to run to the center of the forest and provoke 100,000-year soul beast? Xiao Wu asked Ma Hongjun. As soon as she said this, the I guessed correctly look on Ma Hongjun's face instantly disappeared. Yes, it made no difference to them whether he had protection or not. In the end, the question that he thought was very important was actually useless. Tang Sin nodded and said, Xiao Wu is right. It's useless to think about those things. If you have the time, you might as well think about how to help Boss Dai get a suitable soul ring. Oh, Ma Hongjun nodded with a depressed look on his face. Once upon a time, he wanted to be like Tang San and Lin Feng and be the center of attention. Originally, he thought that this would be the highlight of his deduction. He was ready to be praised, but he didn't expect to come up with a useless point. This really hurt his heart. He was heartbroken. Hey, there seems to be a luo fruit tree in front. The fruits are ripe. They must be delicious. Xiao Wu suddenly said, Where? Where can we eat the luo fruit? Ma Hongjun's depressed look disappeared and was replaced with excitement. Chapter 305. The falling fruit tree, as the name implied, was a type of fruit tree that would fall to the ground after ripening. There were dozens of different types of falling fruit trees, but they all had one thing in common. They were all delicious, with thin skin and lots of meat. They were also very sweet. Xiao Wu loved to eat this kind of fruit when she was still a soul beast. After all, they would fall on their own, and there was no need to run to the tree to pick them. Just as Tang San and the others were picking up the falling fruit trees, Lin Feng, who was sitting on Xiao Ying's back, also found the vicinity. Suddenly, Lin Feng shouted, "Xiaoying, we're here." He sensed Douluo's soul power fluctuation. It was very unique, and it was mixed with a medicinal fragrance. Xiaoying immediately stopped, then shrunk and hid his figure, following Lin Feng's shadow. Lin Feng also stood on the ground lightly. Of course, the moment his feet touched the ground, his body grew a little taller. His clothes turned into a green robe, and the exclusive white mask that belonged to Thanos appeared on his face. The speed of this transformation was comparable to the one-click equipment change in games. With a slight smile, Lin Feng quickly rushed over to Douluo's side. He didn't hide his whereabouts at all, so Douluo discovered him immediately. "Greetings, Mr. Destroy." After seeing clearly who it was, Douluo hurriedly cupped his hands. Lin Feng glanced at Tang San and the others, who were not far away, and asked, "How's the situation?" "It's pretty good. Nothing happened along the way. Now, they're going to the left to help Dai Mubai hunt soul beasts," Douluo replied. "It's all right." Lin Feng nodded. Hearing this, Douluo couldn't figure out Lin Feng's meaning, but he soon seemed to think of something and said, "Just now, that guy called Ma Hongjun guessed something. He guessed that someone was secretly protecting them, and he was very sure of it. And then," Lin Feng asked, Then you came." Douluo was a little confused. Shouldn't Lin Feng have a whole new level of respect for this Ma Hongjun after he said this? After all, guessing was one thing, but daring to be sure was another. This Ma Hongjun dared to be so sure that someone was protecting them. Douluo felt that he was very unusual. However, judging from Lin Feng's current behavior, he wasn't very interested in this. "You can go back. I'll keep an eye on them," Lin Feng said. Douluo was taken aback, but he quickly cupped his hands and said, "Yes, sir." Although Douluo was puzzled, he did not have any doubts. He left after saying that. In the same place, Xiao Ying's figure slowly appeared. Lin Feng held in his arms, stroked its head, and said, "How are we going to deal with Tang San and the others?" Watching a reality show was interesting. If he participated in it, it would be even more interesting. Meow, Xiaoying meowed, but no one knew what it meant. "Got it. Let's give them a fun show and let them experience what it means to be sinister." With that, Lin Feng waved his hand, and two Soul Emperor-level clones appeared. One was a middle-aged man who looked very valiant and ferocious. He was tall and strong. In television dramas, he was the kind of person who didn't look like a good person at first glance. The other was also a middle-aged man, but he looked simple and honest. At first glance, one could tell that he was a good person. After these two clones appeared, Lin Feng paused for a moment, then waved his hand again, and a 20,000-year iron-armed bear appeared under his feet. Lin Feng casually punched the bear a few times, and it looked like it was on the verge of death. Then, Lin Feng controlled the two clones to carry the iron-armed bear and take a big detour, arriving in front of Tang San and the others. After finding a more open place, Lin Feng named the rougher clone Wang Eru. This name was domineering, and it sounded like the name of a villager. Wang Eru threw the iron-armed bear to the ground, then stood opposite the other good person clone. Lin Feng also named this good person clone Han Yinqing, which sounded like a good person's name. Han Yinqing and Wang Eru stood there in a daze. The iron-armed bear beside them was still bleeding and breathing weakly, as if it would die at any moment. It was as if someone had pressed the pause button on a video. However, there were still fallen leaves flying around, and the sound of flowing water could still be heard in the distance. It seemed a little strange. In fact, this was just Lin Feng not paying attention to this side. At this moment, he was waiting for Tang San and the others to leave. After about 5 minutes, the group ate a pile of fallen fruits and continued walking forward. Lin Feng followed closely behind. After a while, after calculating the distance, Lin Feng immediately attached his consciousness to it. "Damn it, I chased this iron-armed bear for so long, and you only gave it one last blow. You actually want to snatch my soul ring." Han Yinqing roared at Wang Eru. At this moment, both of them had 6 soul rings. They weren't perfect soul rings, but yellow, purple, 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 and black. However, both of them had bear-type martial souls, and they gave people the feeling that they needed this soul ring. Bullshit. What do you mean you only gave it one last blow? You clearly only gave it a light injury. If I didn't fight with my life on the line, this iron-armed bear would have run away long ago. Wang Eru roared as if he had been wronged. Not far away, these two voices immediately reached everyone's ears. What's the situation? There are people fighting over soul beasts in front. Should we go over? Dai Mubai frowned and looked at Tang San. Dai Mubai didn't want to meddle in other people's business. At this moment, everyone was hunting soul beasts for him. He only wanted to quickly find and kill the soul beast. He didn't want to meddle in other people's business. Take Shi. Can you see the situation? Tang San asked Zhu Zhuqing. When the latter heard the voices, he immediately went to a big tree and looked into the distance to see the situation clearly. Two people are confronting each other, and their soul rings are exposed. However, there are too many leaves, and I can't see how many soul rings they have. We have to get closer, Zhu Zhuqing replied. If they got closer, there would be an open space in front of them, and they might be discovered. Third brother, let's go over and see the situation first. If the soul beast they are fighting over happens to be what Boss Dai needs, we can trade with them, Ma Hongjun said. What trade? Let's just snatch it, Xiao Wu said as she waved her fist. Let's not go. Master taught us that it's best not to cause trouble in the forest. We also have to avoid contact with others as much as possible, Oscar said. Ning Rongrong didn't say anything. She didn't care if they win or not. After hearing everyone's words, Tang San pondered for a while and then said, Everyone, put on your masks first. We'll go over and see the situation. If they're too strong, we'll just leave and don't care about anything. If they are too weak, then we'll just snatch the soul beast. Do you understand? Yes. Everyone responded. Put on your masks and let's go. With Tang San's command, everyone acted like bandits, putting on their masks and running forward. Chapter 306. I'm definitely going to get this iron-armed bear today. If you continue to tangle with me, don't blame me if I beat you to death. Wang Eru shouted, and his sixth soul ring lit up. In the next second, his entire body grew a size larger, and the image of a giant bear appeared behind him. Every time he attacked, the giant bear would also attack. It was extremely powerful. Han Yinqing was obviously not weak. He took the beating and slowly retreated towards Tang San's side while shouting at the same time. You stole my soul beast, and you want to kill me. You bastard, I'll fight you to the death. As he shouted, Han Yinqing's fifth and sixth soul rings lit up at the same time, and he attacked Wang Eru. However, the image behind Wang Eru was too strong. Han Yinqing couldn't beat it all and was beaten back continuously. At the same time, Tang San's side clearly saw the situation. Two soul emperors are fighting over a soul beast. Neither of them has a perfect soul ring combination. The taller one looks stronger, but it's nothing to us. Dai Mubai analyzed. They're fighting over a 20,000-year-old iron-armed bear. It's a strength-type soul beast, so it won't have any effect on Boss Dai. Originally, Tang San wanted to rush up and snatch the soul beast, but after seeing its age and type, he didn't think of doing so. At this moment, Ning Rongrong asked, why don't they let it go? If they insist on fighting to the death, why don't they just cooperate to kill another soul beast? Soul emperors who came to the setting sun forest and needed soul rings should be at least rank 70. With such strength, don't they know how to cooperate? Ning Rongrong felt that these two were really stupid. These two probably don't know each other. They met by chance because of this soul beast. Strangers rarely cooperate. Tang San explained, the most important thing is that the martial spirits of these two people are very coincidental. They are both bears. This 20,000-year-old iron-armed bear is very suitable for anyone. They don't want to give it up. I see. Ning Rongrong nodded. A 20,000-year soul beast, as the seventh soul ring of Soul Master, was considered quite a good age on the continent. This soul beast was especially compatible with their martial souls. It wasn't inferior to some 40,000-year soul beasts. This kind of situation was not something that could be encountered just because one wanted to. It was very normal for the two of them to fight and risk their lives for it. Then what do we do now? Should he help? I think that tall guy is too arrogant. He's bullying people, Oscar said. Tang San and the others were all righteous and compassionate. When they saw Han Yunqing being beaten up by Wang Eru, they were all shocked. Most importantly, Wang Eru had an evil face. Coupled with Han Yunqing's words, everyone had a rough idea of what was going on. This iron arm bearer must have been heavily injured by Han Yunqing, and Wang Eru must have wanted to snatch his soul beast. They didn't really see the cause of this matter. They could only make inferences based on what they heard and what they saw. Let's help. That tall guy looks like a bad guy. I think he has bad intentions and wants to snatch someone's soul beast, Ning Rongrong said. At this moment, either they agreed to help or they didn't say anything. Tang San sank into deep thought. He wanted to help, but he also didn't want to. It was a very strange feeling. The main reason was that Tang San was puzzled. Did these two people come to the setting sun forest alone to hunt soul beasts? Generally speaking, soul masters formed small teams to hunt soul beasts in the forest. This was because it was safe and the distribution of resources was discussed in advance. This didn't mean that there were no solo soul masters, but that there were relatively few of them. Now that two solo soul masters had encountered each other, Tang San was a little suspicious. After all, Lin Feng had taught him a sentence. If something abnormal happened, there must be something fishy. At this moment, it was better to be more vigilant. Moreover, they were already in the middle of the setting sun forest. A battle between two soul emperors would cause quite a commotion. Weren't they afraid of attracting other soul beasts? As he thought about this, Tang San said in a deep voice, "Let's wait and see." According to Tang San's thoughts, leaving now was the best and safest choice. However, waiting was also fine. As long as Wang Eru didn't kill anyone, they didn't plan on making a move. Wait? Lin Feng had been paying attention to Tang San's side. After hearing this, Lin Feng couldn't help but sigh. Xiao had matured a lot. He was actually able to keep his composure. There was also Xiao Wu. In the past, when she encountered such a situation, she would have been the first to rush forward. Tang San wouldn't have been able to stop her. Lin Feng was a little surprised that she was able to keep her composure. As he thought about this, Lin Feng waved his hand and condensed another doppelganger. This was a middle-aged man with a scar on his face. He was an early-stage soul sage. His name was Wang Dahu, and he was Wang Eru's older brother. After this doppelganger appeared, it immediately rushed towards the place where the two of them were fighting. His martial soul was attached to his body, and his soul rings were released. Han Yunqing was shocked. There's actually a helper. As he spoke, he turned and ran towards Tang San. However, Wang Dahu was very fast. He easily overtook Wang Eru and punched Han Yunqing. Han Yunqing hurriedly turned to block, but how could a soul sage's punch be so easy to withstand? He was sent flying. Han Yunqing's body drew a beautiful arc in the air and fell 10 meters in front of Tang San. He was seriously injured and couldn't get up. As if he had discovered Tang San's group, Han Yunqing looked towards them and shouted, "Save me." Not far away, Wang Eru and Wang Dahu slowly walked over, as if they hadn't discovered Tang San's group. At this moment, Tang San had two choices in front of him. First, he could save Han Yunqing, but he would have to face a soul sage and a soul emperor. Second, he could turn around and leave. At this moment, the two of them clearly hadn't discovered them. They would be fine if they left now, but Han Yunqing would most likely die. This was the first big question that Lin Feng gave Tang San's group of 7. This question had two small questions. The first one tested kindness, and the second one tested humanity. Now, it was Tang San's turn to give the answer to the first small question. "Third brother, should we save him? Third brother, this person is so pitiful. If we don't do anything, not only will his soul beast be stolen, but he might also be beaten to death." Xiao San, a soul sage and a soul emperor. If we use our martial soul fusion skills, we can still fight. For a moment, everyone expressed their opinions. Generally, when people spoke, their voices would spread over a large area. Their voices could be heard all around. However, Tang San and the others could control the volume of their voices through the practice of controlling their soul power. Under normal circumstances, they wouldn't deliberately speak like this, but when they encountered a situation, they would specifically control their voices. Chapter 307. The current situation was naturally more urgent. Tang San and the others were deliberately suppressing their voices. Although they were discussing so much, their voices were rarely heard. Han Yanqing was only a dozen meters away, but she couldn't hear them. However, this had no effect on Lin Feng. He directly attached an avatar to Tang San's hair. Whatever they said, Lin Feng could hear in real time. Make your move. Let's end this quickly. Tang San finally chose to make a move. On one hand, almost everyone else had chosen to make a move. On the other hand, there were very few opportunities to fight with soul sages. After Zhao Wuji was injured by them last time, he didn't want to fight with them again. This was an opportunity. Okay, since they had decided to make a move, they were all excited. Were they finally going to use their true strength outside? This was the first time. At this moment, the 7 of them moved at the same time. Oscar was making sausages over there, while Ning Rongrong immediately threw 4 buffs on everyone. Strength, agility, soul power, and defense were all increased by 45%. It was extremely powerful. This was also because she had to give everyone a buff. If she only buffed one person, the buff would be increased by more than 50%. The effect of a 9 treasures glazed pagoda and soul power control was really terrifying. After the buff, Ning Rongrong immediately grabbed Zhu Zhuqing's hand. With a wave of soul power, a powerful aura condensed on Zhu Zhuqing's body. In the next second, the shadow of a 9-colored pagoda appeared above Zhu Zhuqing's head. Then, the pagoda was like a waterfall. The 9-colored light directly enveloped Zhu Zhuqing. When the light dissipated, Zhu Zhuqing's hair became 9-colored. The pupils in his eyes were also flowing with 9-colored light. His entire person became incomparably holy and beautiful. This was Zhu Zhuqing and Ning Rongrong's martial soul fusion skill, 9-colored blessing. Its effect was to increase Zhu Zhuqing's strength, agility, soul force, and defense. As long as it was Ning Rongrong's current attributes, all of them would be increased by 5 times. Moreover, when it attacked, it would be accompanied by a 9-colored light, which was very powerful. It was almost equivalent to double the attack. This was the result of their 5 months of practice. Even though they still needed to share the burden of this fusion skill, when they unleashed it, they couldn't become an independent soul skill like Lin Feng had suggested. However, the fact that Ning Rongrong was able to unleash her fusion skill while maintaining everyone's buffs was already very impressive. On the other hand, Xiao Wu and Tang San also unleashed their martial soul fusion skills. It was called Rapid Movement. It was a fusion skill led by Tang San. After it was used, it could increase Tang San's speed by 7 times. Other than that, there was another very important point. Xiao Wu could directly teleport to Tang San's side. Furthermore, within a 10-meter radius of Tang San, Xiao Wu could teleport at any time. It was extremely powerful. Dai Mubai and Ma Hongjun unleashed their martial soul fusion skill. It was called the Flaming White Tiger. It could materialize Dai Mubai's martial soul for a short period of time. It could fly, and it also had Ma Hongjun's flames. It was very powerful, and even a soul sage would be injured by it. At this moment, after the 3 martial soul fusion skills were unleashed, Oscar immediately handed the berserk intestines he made to everyone. After eating, the Flaming White Tiger, Tang San, and Zhu Zhuqing, 2 people and 1 beast, rushed out. The tiger and Zhu Zhuqing faced the soul sage, while Tang San and Xiao Wu, who had teleported over, charged towards Wang Eru. Zhu Zhuqing's current amplification was simply terrifying. Other than the initial 45%, there was also the 5-fold amplification from the martial soul fusion skill. Finally, there was also the 30% amplification from Oscar's berserk intestines. When this amplification was used on a soul ancestor, it was enough for him to beat up a soul emperor. He could even temporarily fight against a soul sage. The reason why Zhu Zhuqing could withstand such a huge amount of power was not only because she was a beast soul master, but also because of her soul bones and powerful soul rings. If such a powerful force was used on an ordinary soul ancestor, their body would not be able to withstand it and would directly explode. I was wondering why a soul emperor would dare to snatch my soul beast alone. It turns out that he has a helper. He can actually use a martial soul fusion skill. That's quite impressive, Wang Da laughed as he spoke. He directly faced the white tiger and Zhu Zhuqing. Previously, when the 7 of them defeated Zhao Wuji, it was because they had used a 7-man martial soul fusion skill. This time, when the 2 of them used a martial soul fusion skill against Wang Dao, they didn't have any advantage at all and were suppressed instead. On the other side, Tang Xin easily tied Wang Eru up like a dumpling. His entire body was wrapped in blue-silver grass, and he had lost his ability to fight. After restraining Wang Eru, Tang Xin also joined the battle. Through his super speed, he easily restrained Wang Dahu's attacks, and was repeatedly attacked by Zhu Zhuqing and the White Tiger. This time, Wang Dahu was furious. His 7th soul ring lit up, and his martial soul true body was instantly unleashed. It was an 8-meter-long brown bear, and was even bigger than Zhao Wuji's martial soul true body. In the state of his martial soul true body, the white tiger that Dai Mubai was controlling was sent flying with a single slap and almost dissipated. Zhu Zhuqing and Tang Xin were very fast and immediately widened the distance between them. What do? Our attacks can't break his defense at all. Soul sages rarely activated their martial soul true bodies because of their weakened state. This was especially so in the soul beast forest. Activating their martial soul true bodies usually meant that they had to leave. Otherwise, it would be very dangerous to continue staying here. According to Tang San's plan, the 3 of them should attack. They should first trap Wang Eru, then attack him together, and beat him until he fled. This plan was built on the premise that Wang Dahu did not activate his martial soul true body. However, they did not expect Wang Dahu to be so stubborn. He actually activated his martial soul true body, and even looked like he wanted to continue fighting with them. We're fast. Let's take turns to delay him. He won't dare to fight for too long after activating his martial soul true body. Delaying a soul sage who had activated his martial soul true body was as difficult as facing Douluo in his normal state. Tang San and the others could only try their best. If they really couldn't delay him, they would eat Oscar's mushroom intestines and fly into the sky. Based on their probing earlier, this soul sage did not seem to have any long-range soul skills. That's the only way. Zhu Zhuqing nodded and prepared to continue attacking. However, just as they made this decision, Han Yinqing, who was lying not far away and severely injured, came to Wang Eru's side. You want to kill me? Go and die. Suddenly, a saber appeared out of nowhere. Han Yinqing grabbed the saber and hacked Wang Eru to death with a single slash. This scene caused Wang Dahu to be dumbfounded. Not only him, but Tang San and the others were also stunned. Chapter 308. What was going on? Why did Han Yinqing, who was seriously injured, suddenly appear beside Wang Eru? Did no one notice this? The truth was that Lin Feng's movements were already slow enough, but the battle just now was very intense, and everyone's attention was attracted to the battle. Logically speaking, Oscar should have noticed it, but at that time, he was flying in the sky and was looking for an opportunity to deliver the sausages. Besides, even if he saw it, he wouldn't care about it, let alone alert them. After all, they had never encountered such a thing before, so they wouldn't think too much about it. After this happened, everyone was stunned. Wang Dahu shouted angrily, "All of you must die." As he shouted, he directly rushed towards Han Yinqing. At this moment, a 50,000-year Herculean gorilla rushed out and directly fought with Wang Dahu. Of course, this was also Lin Feng's clone, and also the last character in this big problem. On the side, Han Yinqing held his blade and seemed to be preparing to launch a sneak attack on Wang Dahu. These scenes changed extremely quickly, and Tang Xin didn't even have time to react before everything happened. What do we do now? Everyone gathered around, and at the same time, withdrew their martial soul fusion skill. Martial soul fusion skills were strong, but they also consumed a lot of soul power. If they continued to use it, they might not even be able to maintain it for 10 minutes. Therefore, Tang San's tactic just now was to take turns stalling for time, giving the other two a chance to eat Oscar's sausages to recover their soul power. This guy looks honest, but I didn't expect him to be such a ruthless character. He immediately took revenge and directly killed. Dai Mubai looked at Han Yinqing, who was not far away, and sighed slightly. His injuries recovered so quickly. It seems that he must have eaten some treasure. It seems that just now was not his limit at all. He used us. Tang San frowned. Helping the weak and upholding justice was the most basic code of conduct for people. But at this moment, the weak they helped killed someone, and their role changed from acting bravely for a just cause to an accomplice. After all, Tang San and the others only wanted to help Han Yinqing take back the iron-armed bear and drive the two away. This didn't mean that Han Yinqing shouldn't have killed Wang Eru. From his point of view, Wang Dahe wanted to take his life. He was just resisting. But from the perspective of Tang San and the others, this matter was a little strange. They seemed to have been used by someone. While they were discussing this, Han Yinqing walked over and said, "Everyone, as long as you help me kill this guy, I'm willing to give you a 10,000-year soul bone." With a flip of his hand, Han Yinqing took out a soul bone from his left leg. It was around 20,000 years old. Of course, the soul bone was fake. It had been simulated by Lin Feng. Originally, he wanted to get a 50,000-year soul bone, but that would be too fake. It was already very impressive for a soul emperor to be able to get a 20,000-year soul bone. And this was the second question of Lin Feng's big question, which tested human nature. Just now, they took action because of the kindness in Tang San and the others' hearts. They felt that Han Yinqing was the weak party. He was robbed of his soul beast and wanted to be killed. Saving him was a good thing. But now, if they took action, it would be a life-threatening transaction. They would get the soul bone, but the price was to be an assassin. One had to know that they were now students. The last time they killed people in the Great Soul Arena, it was equivalent to a class. The people they killed were all evil people. But now, looking at the situation, Han Yinqing and Wang Dahe were not good people. Helping evil people kill evil people. What was the difference between them and evil people? At this time, to accept or reject was the choice that Lin Feng gave everyone. This was a soul bone. They knew how powerful a soul bone was. After all, they had experienced it firsthand. Such a precious thing could be obtained by killing a stranger. In the eyes of most soul masters, this soul bone was simply a free gift. Seeing that the 7 people suddenly fell silent, Han Yinqing continued, "That guy is now entangled with the Vigor Gorilla. We only need to stop him. When his martial soul, true body disappears, the Vigor Gorilla will kill him. We don't have to do it ourselves. As long as he dies, I will give you the soul bone." Han Yinqing's tone was full of temptation. Among Tang San's group of 7, he and Xiao didn't feel anything special about the soul bone. Zhu Zhuqing, Dai Mubai, and Ning Rongrong were very knowledgeable and were children of big families. Ma Hongjun and Oscar were different. The two of them were born ordinary people. Their reaction to treasures was much more intense than the others. When Han Yinqing said this, Oscar was the first to ask, "A soul bone is so precious. Why don't you use it for yourself? I already have a left leg bone. I've been very lucky in my life, and I've only obtained 2 soul bones. If it weren't for the chance to become a soul sage and kill my enemy, I wouldn't have taken this soul bone out." Hearing this, everyone understood. They were wondering why he took out such an important item like a soul bone. So this was the reason. A soul bone that he didn't need in exchange for these treasures was worth it. What soul beast did this soul bone fall from? Ma Hongjun asked. "A 20,000-year iron-horned rhinoceros. I obtained it half a month ago. I was going to use it to exchange for a soul bone, but this time, you guys are lucky." Han Yinqing looked in Wang Da's direction and said anxiously, "That guy's going to run. There's not much time left. Hurry up and do something. As long as you stop him, this soul bone will be yours." Hearing this, everyone subconsciously looked in Wang Dahe's direction. Just as Han Yinqing said, Wang Dahu was going to run. Fenggu, should we do something? Oscar asked. He and Ma Hongjun didn't want this soul bone for themselves. Instead, they were thinking from the perspective of the team as a whole. They wanted this soul bone for Xiao Wu. The only reason why they were so anxious was because the soul bone was more important to them. 100 million was an unattainable number for ordinary people, but it was just a small goal for big shots. This was the difference. If we give the soul bone to Xiao Wu, the 7 of us will all have soul bones. Dai Mubai was also a little shaken. Dai Mubai felt that they could obtain a soul bone by stopping someone a few times. Wang Da wasn't a good person either. There's not much time left. Everyone, hurry up and do something, Han Yinxing urged again. At this moment, everyone looked at Tang San and waited for his final decision. As the leader of Shrek's 7 monsters, they would usually let Tang San make the decision as long as it wasn't something that the other 6 agreed with. In the end, under the gazes of everyone, Tang San spat out 3 words. I refuse. Chapter 309. After being rejected, Han Yinxing was clearly stunned. He didn't expect to be rejected at all. During this time, Wang Dahu took Wang Eru's corpse and fled into the distance. The soul beast also chased after them. Now, only Tang San's group of 7, Han Yinxing, and a heavily injured Iron Arm Bear were left. It's too late. He's already run away. This is going to be difficult. After saying that, Han Yinxing ran directly to the Iron Arm Bear and left with it. Before Tang San and the others could react, Han Yinxing was already gone. This person is too despicable. He didn't even say thank you and just ran away. Xiao was furious. Yeah, soul masters can't even compare to ordinary people. When I worked in Heavendo City, I didn't even meet such a person, Ning Rongrong said. Over the past few months, Tang San and the others have been busy, but they still spend a few days every month to experience the work of ordinary people and see the true state of society. Now, each and every one of them might not be able to solve every problem they encountered, but at least they had their own opinions. Maybe he's afraid that we'll steal his soul bone. Otherwise, why would he run away so quickly? Ma Hongjun pursed his lips. In my opinion, we should have snatched his soul bone just now. After all, we saved his life. Xiao Wu chimed in. There's a big battle here. It won't be long before soul beasts come. Let's hurry up and leave. Tang San stopped the discussion and led everyone away. On a tree about 100 meters to the east, Wang Eru, Han Yinxing, and Wang Da's clones turned into streaks of light and returned to Lin Feng's body. Being rejected by Tang San was within Lin Feng's expectations. Lin Feng also expected that Han Yinxing would take action because of his heavy injuries. It was good that he could make these choices. He had passed this test. However, this wasn't the perfect answer in Lin Feng's eyes. Stealing Han Yunqing's soul bone was the best choice. After all, he had saved this fellow's life. There was nothing wrong with snatching a soul bone from him. However, Tang San and the others were still too inexperienced to let Han Yunqing escape. However, this was the first time they had faced such a situation, so it was not bad that they were able to do so. As for Lin Feng himself, he felt that this role-playing game was quite interesting. He had set up a small script, and then Tang San and the others would act in it. This feeling was like playing a game. It was very interesting. Tomorrow, I'll play the second stage. What should I play? Let's play the game of a 30,000-year soul beast attacking a campsite. 30,000-year soul beasts were just right. They were almost as strong as soul sages, and they were capable of injuring Tang San and the others without being fatal. It would be good to let them experience the terror of Setting Sun Forest. But before that, I should find a better soul beast for Dai Mubai. Soon, it was the second day. Lin Feng had found a suitable soul beast for Dai Mubai last night, a 14,000-year cliff tiger. Didn't he want a defense-type soul skill? This cliff tiger would definitely be able to fulfill his wish. Of course, Lin Feng would not give it to him directly. Instead, he left it on their path and let them discover it themselves. Unsurprisingly, this cliff tiger was discovered by everyone, and then Dai Mubai killed it and absorbed it. Our luck is really good. This 10,000-year cliff tiger is very compatible with Boss Dai. After absorbing its soul ring, he will definitely obtain a strong defense-type soul skill. Tang San sighed with emotion. Originally, they had wanted to spend a week or even longer to find a soul beast for Dai Mubai. In the end, they could only find a random one to make do with if they could not find a suitable one. However, they did not expect things to go so smoothly. On the first day of the official search, they found this cliff tiger. The cliff tiger could be said to be in the top 3 of all the soul beasts that Dai Mubai wanted to meet. Furthermore, Tang Sen carefully analyzed the age and found that it was more than 14,000 years old. It was completely suitable for Dai Mubai. What a lucky bastard. Absorbing the soul ring required a lot of time, and the others were protecting Dai Mubai. After an hour, nothing unexpected happened. Dai Mubai successfully absorbed his 5th soul ring. Boss Dai, how do you feel? What soul skill did you obtain? When Dai Mubai opened his eyes, Ma Hongjun was the first to go up to him. I feel very good. I can easily send a fatty flying with one punch. Dai Mubai said with a smile. Ma Hongjun, I won't joke around. My soul skill is called the White Tiger Shinrak Shield. It's a defense-type soul skill. It can even block a soul sage's attack. It needs a minute to break through a soul emperor's attack. As he spoke, Dai Mubai's 5th soul ring suddenly lit up. A 5-meter-long, 2-meter-wide, translucent earth-yellow shield condensed on Dai Mubai's left arm. This shield gave Lin Feng a familiar feeling. It was just like the shield of Big Hammer in Overwatch. The only difference was that the color, thickness, and details were different. With this shield in front of them, Tang San and the others had time to unleash their martial soul fusion skills without being affected. It was very powerful. So cool, so sturdy. Ma Hongjun pinched the shield and exclaimed in admiration. Isn't this thing heavy? Xiao Wu looked at the shield. It seemed to be very heavy. It looks heavy, and you guys will be heavy too. However, this shield is weightless to me. It's very convenient. As he spoke, Dai Mubai's soul power moved slightly, and the shield actually turned into specks of starlight and dissipated. When Dai Mubai raised his hand, the shield appeared again. You just learned this soul skill, and you can already use it twice in a row. When did Boss Dai's soul power control become so powerful? Oscar exclaimed. I didn't use it twice. It's just that this soul skill is a little special. The shield can be retracted. Furthermore, as long as it isn't completely destroyed by others, I can retract it and use it again. There's no need to use it a second time. This way, I can save a lot of soul power. Dai Mubai explained. This soul skill is very strong. Ma Hongjun swallowed his saliva. Dai Mubai said, Actually, it's not that strong. I can block a soul emperor's attack for a minute, but that's when there's only one person attacking. If there are too many people attacking, the shield will shatter very quickly. Furthermore, this shield doesn't cover a large area. I can't defend against some soul masters who are fast or have soul skills that allow them to move. This shield was strong, but it also had its flaws. However, as a 10,000-year soul skill, it was already very good that it was this powerful, right? The reason why Dai Mubai referred to soul emperors in terms of strength was because soul kings were too weak. His shield could almost completely defend against an ordinary soul king's attack. Even if 7 soul kings attacked his shield, Dai Mubai would be able to resist for more than 10 minutes. This kind of situation didn't need to be discussed. Chapter 310. Everyone was greatly encouraged by the fact that they were able to obtain a soul skill with a strong defensive power. This meant that they would have time to unleash their martial soul fusion skill in future competitions, even if they would have faced the Avengers' lightning-fast attacks. Third brother, you're almost at rank 50. What kind of soul ring do you want for your 5th? Xiao Wu asked curiously. Tang San was currently at rank 48, and his cultivation speed was the fastest among everyone. He would probably reach rank 50 soon after the competition began. As for me, I'm a control-type soul master. Of course, I want a control-type soul ring, Tang San muttered. Fengge told me that my 4th soul ring is at the 10,000-year level, and I also have 2 soul bones. This will greatly enhance my physical fitness. I can obtain a soul ring that is at least 25,000 years old for my 5th soul ring. As long as it doesn't exceed 30,000 years, it shouldn't be a problem. At least 25,000 years old. Everyone's eyes were wide open. This was especially so for Daimubai. He was already very happy that his fifth soul ring was at least 14,000 years old. However, Tang San said that he could obtain a soul ring that was close to 30,000 years old, which was directly twice his. This, although he had never officially sparred with Tang San before, Daimubai was very clear that he wasn't a match for Tang San. This guy was able to beat up Tinin, who was at rank 50 when he had just become a soul ancestor. Tinin wasn't weak at all. Even when Daimubai was at rank 46 and had a soul bone, he was at most on par with Tinin. However, Tang San was able to beat him up. The difference between the two was clear at a glance. Oscar said, "I'm envious of third brother. If only my fifth soul ring was at least 30,000 years old. Such a strong soul ring would definitely enhance me greatly. I might even be able to become a battle soul master." Ma Hongjun attacked him mercilessly. "Don't even think about it. With your small body, a 30,000-year soul ring would directly burst you. How can you be a battle soul master? Can't I think about it? Last time, I saw a special soul beast called the Mirror Beast. It can copy other people's strength. If I absorb the Mirror Beast soul ring, I might be able to absorb your strength too. At that time, I'll be the first to beat you up, fatty." Oscar and Ma Hongjun bickered on a daily basis. "Your mirror image is so powerful." When I reached level 50, the two of them did not bicker for long and soon quieted down. They had been searching for soul beasts for the entire day and were already tired. By the time Daimubai finished absorbing the soul ring, the sun was about to set. Tang San quickly led everyone to an open space next to a small stream. They decided to spend the night here. After searching for an entire day, everyone's physical strength had been greatly depleted. They quickly finished their dinner and scattered animal and insect repellent powder around the area before they began to rest. Of course, they were not stupid enough to rest together. The seven of them took turns to keep watch. As the captain, Tang San was the first to do so. Lin Feng was not in a hurry at all. He was waiting for Ma Hongjun to do the third sentry. This guy was careless. It would be more interesting if he was the sentry. Time passed quickly. After Lin Feng rested for a while, he immediately threw out a doppelganger, which turned into a 30,000-year night demon lion. This was a type of lion that liked to hunt at night. It was very strong and was slowly approaching Tang San's camp. At this moment, Ma Hongjun was quite energetic as he kept watch. After all, at this moment, everyone's safety was in his hands. He knew the seriousness of the matter. Even if he felt that this place was very safe, he would not really feel that it was fine. It was just that he was a little lazy and directly he sat on the trunk of a big tree at the side. This way, he could directly see the situation around the camp and did not need to focus on observing in detail from below. However, there was a disadvantage to this, and that was that some details could not be seen. Looking down from the tree, if there were soul beasts crawling in the dense forest, Ma Hongjun would not be able to discover them. Lin Feng's doppelganger transformed into a night demon lion. Its entire body was extremely black, and it blended into the night as it slowly approached Tang San and the others in the forest. When it was about 20 meters away, Lin Feng stopped. This was because there was an open space in front of them. If he made a move, he would be exposed. This was also the reason why they had to find an open space to camp in the wild. The open space in this place was originally not very big. Tang San and the others wanted to set up a camp, so they had to manually clear an area. This way, no matter how bad Ma Hongjun's eyesight was, soul beasts running in the open space would be easily discovered. Very quickly, Lin Feng chose his targets, Zhu Zhuqing and Xiao Wu, who were sleeping in the outermost area. Without hesitation, he attacked. A distance of 20 meters was only a few steps away. It was just that if he ran at full speed, his movements would be very loud. For those who were stronger like Tang San and Daimubai, they were immediately awakened. At the same time, Ma Hongjun's martial soul possession rushed down from above and shouted, "The 10,000-year night demon lion is attacking. Defend!" In an instant, everyone was awakened. However, at this moment, Lin Feng had already arrived in front of Xiao Wu and Zhu Zhuqing, and he slapped towards them with his claws. In fact, if he had used his full strength, Xiao Wu and Zhu Zhuqing would have been killed. However, Lin Feng purposely slowed down by a beat to give the two of them time to react. Xiao Wu immediately teleported away, and Zhu Zhuqing fell into the shadows. The night was her home ground. At this moment, Ma Hongjuan's fourth soul ring shone, and he unleashed his phoenix's skyward roar. This was an extremely powerful offensive soul skill that raised all of his attributes by 50%. After he let out a sharp cry, he could cause his enemy's soul power to become chaotic, and they wouldn't be able to use their soul skills for a short period of time. Ma Hongjun wanted to scare this night demon lion away. Even if it attracted other soul beasts, they would leave this place quickly. It was a good choice. However, in the next second, the night demon lion opened its mouth and let out a furious roar. The Lion King's roar was extremely terrifying. Not only was Ma Hongjuan's soul skill interrupted, but he was also sent flying and was severely injured. Tang Xin used his blue silver grass to bring Ma Hongjun back. He had a serious expression on his face as he said, "It's a 30,000-year night demon lion. It's comparable to a soul sage." Taking advantage of this opportunity, the others gathered around Tang San. Dai Mubai even released his shield in front of everyone. When a 30,000-year soul beast went berserk, even a soul sage would have to release his martial soul true body to suppress it. Now that Ma Hongjun was severely injured, Oscar hurriedly fed him sausage. However, his injuries were too severe, and he wouldn't be able to recover in a short period of time. Boss Dai, block it for a while. Everyone, eat your mushroom sausages and get ready to leave. Tang San quickly commanded. Ning Rongrong didn't need anyone to remind her. She immediately used her amplification skills on Dai Mubai, and the latter unleashed all sorts of soul skills. Under such circumstances, even if his shield was broken, he could still hold on for 1 or 2 seconds. Chapter 3:11. When they were in the Soul Beast Forest, the situation was urgent, so Oscar naturally wouldn't make sausages on the spot. He would make the sausages in advance and bring one with everyone. Originally, his sausages couldn't be stored for such a long time, but ever since his martial soul evolved and he became more proficient in controlling his soul power, his sausages could be stored for 3 days. Just like that, he only needed to update the sausages in everyone's hands every 3 days to ensure that everyone had sausages to use at all times. At this critical moment, everyone began to eat the mushroom sausages. Just as Tang San gave the order, the night demon lion was already charging towards Dai Mubai. It didn't even have time to eat Oscar's berserk sausages. After being strengthened by Ning Rongrong, Dai Mubai met the night demon lion's claw head-on. Bang! With a muffled sound, Dai Mubai watched in horror as a shield was covered with cracks. At the same time, a huge force was transmitted to his body, and he took a few steps back before he could stabilize himself. He hurriedly channeled his soul power to repair the shield, but the night demon lion was too fast and attacked with its claw again. Crack! This time, the shield shattered, and the claw, which had lost most of its power, landed on Dai Mubai's body. Dai Mubai's reaction was also fast. The moment the claw landed, he leaned forward, wanting to turn the tables and take down the night demon lion. However, it was all in vain. Another claw came, and Dai Mubai was swept away, spitting out a mouthful of blood in the air. However, Tang San and the rest had already eaten the mushroom sausages and could fly. No, take Shi. Use your martial soul fusion skills with Ning Rongrong to block it. Otherwise, Boss Dai won't have time to eat the mushroom sausages and will be in danger. I'll attract its attention first. With that, Tang San threw all his control-type soul skills at the night demon lion. Through the control of his soul power, the blue-silver grass on these soul skills seemed to come alive. Even if they were easily torn apart by the night demon lion, they could still hold on for a second. And this precious second was to buy time for Zhu Zhuqing. As an agility-type soul master, Zhu Zhuqing was extremely fast, especially with her martial soul and soul skills. After using her martial soul fusion skill, she used her shadow and instantly arrived beside the night demon lion. At this moment, Zhu Zhuqing was much stronger than Dai Mubai. The night demon lion's attack couldn't touch her at all. On the other side, Oscar immediately went to Dai Mubai and fed him sausage. They didn't expect the night demon lion to be so strong. It was able to severely injure Dai Mubai the moment the shield broke. Fortunately, Tang San commanded calmly and made the most correct judgment. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. With the night demon lion's strength, it could easily injure them. If they had hesitated for even a second, they might have died here. After Dai Mubai successfully flew up, Tang San immediately shouted, "Take Shi, come back. Quickly leave this place." That roar was too loud. Soon, other soul beasts will come. Zhu Zhuqing nodded, and her fourth soul ring shone behind her. Fourth soul skill, Spectre Shadow Doppelganger. As Zhu Zhuqing's body blurred, a total of 3 figures appeared. 2 of them were more illusory. The moment they appeared, they rushed towards the night demon lion. The last one was more solid and flew into the sky. At this moment, the 7 of them quickly flew towards the other side of the stream. That was the direction of the outer regions, and it was much safer. At the same time, the night demon lion let out an indignant roar. In the next second, Lin Feng kept this doppelganger. He had seriously injured 2 people, and the others were also frightened. He had held back in this attack. Otherwise, if it had been a true 30,000-year night demon lion, Zhu Zhuqing and Xiao Wu would have been dead. Furthermore, with 2 people dead, even if Tang San went berserk and killed the night demon lion, there was no turning back. This incident should be able to teach them a lesson. On the road today, they were still boasting shamelessly that there wasn't any danger in the forest. Now, they knew how powerful it was. Suddenly, Lin Feng turned around and looked behind him in shock. A 50,000-year Blood Knight predatory spider. This was a super killer. To be worthy of the name Blood Knight, this spider was a super killer in the world of Soul Masters at night. Who knew how many Soul Masters had died at its hands? Lin Feng didn't expect that there would be such a strong soul beast nearby. When he was helping Dai Mubai find the cliff tiger, he didn't find it all. Now, it seemed that if Lin Feng hadn't scared them, Tang San and the others might have encountered this fellow again. If that had happened, they would have been in danger. But now, this spider wouldn't be able to get anything. Lin Feng quickly disappeared from where he was, as if he had never been there. Tang San's group of 7 flew for a few kilometers and stopped after arriving at a hidden cave. After this attack, everyone finally reacted. If there was anyone to blame, it was Ma Hongjun. He was on duty, but he didn't notice any danger. If the night demon lion hadn't attacked Xiao Wu and Zhu Zhuqing, someone would have died. After all, other than Xiao Wu and Zhu Zhuqing, the others didn't know any teleportation-type soul skills. Dai Mubai was seriously injured from the attack, so how could Oscar withstand it? Could Ning Rongrong withstand it? Why didn't you notice it? Tang San asked Ma Hongjun. On the way here, Ma Hongjun had eaten a few healing sausages. In addition, his injuries were lighter than Dai Mubai's, so he could barely move now. That lion came from under the grass. It's very cunning, so I didn't notice it. Ma Hongjun gritted his teeth. It's impossible that you didn't notice it. Although the grass leaves are big, they aren't very dense. You could have definitely noticed it in advance. Also, that lion is so big. Even if it sneaked over, it's impossible for it to not touch the surrounding leaves. There would definitely be a sound. Tang San said with certainty. He was very particular about the location. The side facing the stream was very empty, so he didn't need to pay attention to it. When he was on night watch, he only needed to be in the middle of the camp, and he would be able to see the movements on 3 sides at the same time. Also, the grass where the night demon lion came from was very close to their camp. Ma Hongjun was a soul ancestor, so it was impossible for him not to hear the movements. Are you slacking off? Tang San questioned. I'm not. Ma Hongjun hurriedly said. I ran to the top of a tree. That way, I can directly observe the surroundings. In fact, Ma Hongjun wanted to slack off a little. Sitting on the ground was too boring, and he needed to observe the surroundings and the top of his head from time to time. But on the tree, he only needed to keep an eye on the ground. He could directly sense the danger on the tree, and there was wind blowing. It was much more comfortable than below. In order to make his night watch more comfortable, Ma Hongjun sacrificed a little bit of his vigilance. No matter how he thought about it, it was this loss of vigilance that led to this situation. Chapter 312. On top of the tree, Tang San's expression turned ugly. Then he scolded, "Fatty, it's not just me. Fonga said it many times when we were in the Star Do Great Forest. Everyone is to stand guard and not go up the tree. Although we can see the surroundings from the tree, we can't hear a lot of information from the ground. And you're on the tree, so far away from the camp. How can you guarantee that you'll alert us quickly? Why did you choose an open space near the stream? Because this place is safe and we can quickly escape if there's any danger. The trees above us are some distance away. Even if we're ambushed by soul beasts, we can react quickly. On the ground, we can also keep an eye on the surrounding bushes. As long as we stand in the middle of the camp, we can guard against almost any danger. Why did you climb up the tree? Do you know that because of your negligence, Xiao Wu and Take Shi almost died? If that night demon lion had chosen Oscar or Ning Rongrong as its target, they would have died. Ma Hongjun was helpless and didn't know what to say. He was very regretful now. He shouldn't have gone up the tree. If it weren't for his negligence, this wouldn't have happened. If he had warned them early enough, they wouldn't have been injured at all. Tang Sen had never lost his temper since entering the school. But today, because of Ma Hongjun's negligence, Xiao Wu almost died. This touched Tang San's reverse scale. Third brother, Take Shi, and I are fine. Xiao Wu ran over and pulled Tang San. You're fine because you're lucky. If that night demon lion had roared when it attacked you, you wouldn't have been able to use your soul skills. Tang Sen became more afraid the more he thought about it. He could tell that Xiao Wu and Zhu Zhuqing were really lucky. That night demon lion was only a 30,000-year soul beast. Its intelligence wasn't high. If he roared before the ambush, all of their soul power would be disrupted for a few seconds, and they wouldn't be able to use any soul skills. Under such circumstances, the 7 of them were like fish on a chopping board in front of a 30,000-year soul beast. Even though Shrek's 7 monsters were very powerful and were able to crush Zhao Wuji, that was only because they had used a combination skill that could only be used under special circumstances. If they were to fight, their combined strength would only be comparable to 4 Soul Emperors. Unless they could find an opportunity to release a martial soul fusion skill, the 6 Soul Emperors could easily beat them up. Tang San was strong, but fighting 2 Soul Emperors by himself was already impressive. The other 4 Soul Emperors were more than enough to kill the others. Fatty, you've gone overboard this time, Dai Mubai said in a low voice. He had personally experienced how strong the night demon lion was. If it weren't for the fact that he had so many enhancements, he would have been killed with just 1 claw. Ma Hongjun lowered his head and blushed. He didn't know what to say. He was very ashamed and regretful. It has already happened. Only Boss Dai and Fatty were injured. This is already a very good result. It's useless to push the blame away. The most important thing is that we learn from this and don't make the same mistake again, Zhu Zhuqing said softly. Hearing this, Tang Sen quickly calmed down. He was right. It was useless to say all this now. The most important thing was to learn from it. At this moment, Ma Hongjun hurriedly said, I promise this kind of situation won't happen again. At this moment, the original pride and disdain for the dangers of the forest all disappeared. After this incident, Ma Hongjun became more vigilant. Maybe it would change after a long time, but at least in the short term, this incident would always remind him. You promise? What promise do you have? It would have been better if Ma Hongjun didn't speak. Once he spoke, Tang Sen became angry again. This made him recall the panicked expression on Xiao Wu's face after she teleported away just now. Although Zhu Zhuqing's situation was better, he was still in shock. After all, he had just escaped death. Who could be calm? Ma Hongjun didn't say anything for a long time. Seeing this, Tang Sen quickly calmed down. It's useless to say this now. Fortunately, Xiao Wu and Take Shi are fine. This result was the best for everyone. At least they were still alive. At this moment, Zhu Zhuqing suddenly said, "Didn't you say that someone was secretly protecting us? I think there's no one protecting us at all. The 7 of us can only rely on ourselves now." If there was one thought in everyone's mind before, that was that no one would really die. If there was a crisis, someone would save them. But now it seemed that there was no one protecting them at all. If they had reacted a second slower just now, someone would have died. Hearing this, Tang Xin nodded and said, "That's right. There's no one protecting us in the dark at all. The training given to us by the master is the most realistic. We can only rely on ourselves now. Boss Dai and Fatty, quickly recover from your injuries. I'll be on guard tonight." This time, Ma Hongjun lowered his head even more. Everyone had the same thought now. They could only rely on themselves. If there was really someone protecting them, they would definitely have helped in such a dangerous situation. However, there was no one. No one would have thought that this old beast was Lin Feng's clone, and that what they encountered before was also done by Lin Feng's clone. No one had such thoughts because they had never encountered such a thing. Tang Xin didn't sleep for the whole night. The others didn't really sleep well either. Their sleeping state wasn't much better. Some simply meditated for the whole night. Although the effect was far from sleeping, it was still better than being tormented and not being able to sleep. After a night of healing with sausages, Dai Mubai and Ma Hongjuan's bodies had recovered a lot. Especially Dai Mubai, whose recovery speed was very fast. At this time, he was almost fully recovered. No one was in a hurry to set off. Taking advantage of the fact that the sun had risen, they rested for a few hours before setting off. "Are we going back to the central area now? Won't it be too dangerous?" Ning Rongrong said worriedly. In the past, Ma Hongjun would definitely ask this question first. However, he had become taciturn now. And there are still 11 days of training. We have to go back. We can't shrink back when we encounter danger. That way, we will never become strong. Tang San said in a deep voice. Being strong wasn't just about the body. The most important thing was to sharpen one's mind. The heart of a strong person was actually the most precious thing for a soul master. How could one have the heart of a strong person? After experiencing a lot and knowing a lot, one would naturally have the heart of a strong person. This training was a metamorphosis for them. Chapter 3:13. There's no one to supervise us. Even if we stay in the outer region for 15 days, we'll still be considered to have completed our mission. However, 1,000-year-old beasts aren't easy to find here, let alone 15 days. Even if we stay here for 15 years, it won't be of much help to us. Tang Xin looked into the depths of the forest. Only there can we rapidly improve ourselves. For now, I've decided to return to the central region. If anyone retreats because of the danger, they can just wait in the outer region. We won't say a word when we return. Tang Xin was right. Since there was no one to supervise them, they were free to do whatever they wanted for the next 15 days. As long as they returned in half a month, they would have completed their mission. However, at the same time, they could only grow rapidly by experiencing danger. If they retreated this time, wouldn't they retreat again if they encountered such a situation in the future? Some things only had a difference between 0 times and countless times. As long as you dared to do it once, you would think about it the next time. Since you've already done it once, what's the harm in doing it again? Now, it was time for them to make a decision. What nonsense are you talking about? Isn't it just one time of danger? Soul Masters have to experience danger to grow. Otherwise, they'll always be trash. Dai Mubai said. Dai Mubai had seen many dangerous things. In the past, his soul rings were all hunted by himself, and the danger he faced was no less than what he was facing now. Furthermore, soul masters in the Star Luo Empire were much more vicious than those in the Heaven Do Empire. There were places where the law of survival was killing. As long as they went there, their lives would be in danger at any time. I want to go back. Zhu Zhuqing didn't say much. He just expressed his stance. I'll go back too. Xiao nodded. Of course I'll go back too. Otherwise, you guys won't have any delicious sausages. Oscar laughed. I don't want to stay here alone. Ning Rongrong also said. Ma Hongjun opened his mouth and said, I'll go back too. The 7 of them were all geniuses. Even if they had the thought of retreating, they quickly suppressed it. Only by experiencing danger could one grow quickly. They all knew this principle. Furthermore, there was danger everywhere. Back then, wasn't Tang San caught in the Shrek Academy? There were rumors in the outside world that some forces were preparing to target the Shrek Academy. They had to quickly become stronger so that they would have more confidence when trouble came. Since we've decided to go back, this time, everyone has to be alert. We're not going for a vacation, we're going for survival. I hope everyone can stay alert at all times. Tang San looked ahead. Let's go. As soon as he finished speaking, the 7 of them once again walked towards the central area. However, Tang San knew that the place they were at previously might be dangerous, so he purposely changed to another direction. On a tree branch not far away from them, Lin Feng secretly nodded. Xiao San, this guy, had his own style. Back when they were in the soul-hunting forest, he had deliberately nurtured Tang San. After all, this was the main character, the Son of Fortune. Lin Feng had befriended him mainly to leave himself a way out. If his system disappeared or something happened to him in the future, this kind of good karma would be very useful. Now, these concerns had disappeared. However, he had developed a relationship with Tang San and the others. Nurturing Tang San had become a nurturing game for Lin Feng. Now, it appeared that the nurturing effect was quite good. When Tang San and the others returned to the central area, Lin Feng continued his role-playing game. This was very interesting, and the joy in it was unimaginable to others. Back in Heavendo City, he would also transform into different clones to buy food on the streets and alleys. The various forms of the human world made him feel as if he had seen through the mundane world. After seeing more of this, Lin Feng's acting skills also improved. In the following 10 days, Lin Feng became more and more engrossed in his acting, and the more interesting it became. And in the midst of these stories, Tang Sanchi and the others grew rapidly as well. When the 15 days were up, Lin Feng could already do 11 things at once. Tang San and the others seemed to have undergone a baptism, and all of them became much more mature. The effect of this training was much better than what the master had imagined. Originally, he only wanted to increase the vigilance of the 7 of them, so that they wouldn't be underestimated in future competitions. Now, he felt that the 7 of them had matured all of a sudden, especially Ma Hongjun. In the past, he was the most talkative, and he was the one who liked to stir up trouble. This time, it was as if he had become a different person. When the 7 of them returned to the academy, Grandmaster Lin, Flanders, Liu Erlong, and Zhao Wuji were waiting at the entrance of the academy. This was big news. There were too many powers paying attention to the Shrek Academy, and the 4's abnormal behavior immediately caused a heated discussion. And when Tang San and the others were welcomed in, it caused a heated discussion in the city. The main reason was that the Continental Elite Academy Soul Master Tournament was about to begin. The Shrek Academy was very famous, and there had always been people guessing who their participating students were. However, these were all hidden too well, and not many people knew. The Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan knew, but they only remembered their faces and didn't even know their names. When they came to apologize, they didn't see Tang San and the others. Under these circumstances, Shrek's 7 monsters were able to hide for so long. However, there were only 5 days until the tournament began, and they didn't have to hide anymore. It didn't matter if others knew about Shrek's 7 monsters. Shrek Academy. In a small academy in the center of the forest, a group of people were sitting together. The 4 teachers had strange expressions on their faces. Other than greeting them at the start, Tang Sanchi and the others had not spoken much on the way here. In particular, Flanders was starting to wonder if these 7 people were fake. He knew Ma Hongjun very well, and he should have been cheering a long time ago. However, he was still able to remain silent even after walking for so long, and that was quite impressive. Tell me, how have you been during the past half a month? Did you encounter any danger? Grandmaster Lin asked in a concerned manner. When Douluo Bo had returned, he had been given a fright, thinking that something had happened. Only later did he find out that Mr. Destroy had taken over. At the time, Douluo Bo had told him that Tang San and the others were fine, and that they were doing well. However, only around half a month had passed, so why did it feel like a year or 2 had passed? All of them had grown up? We've learned a lot from this forest training, Tang San said with a smile. Of course, there were many dangers, but we made it through safely.